Hello. I'm back. Yeah. Yesterday we do quite a lot, so I don't know if I can finish the zip mod today, to be honest. Oh my fucking god, it's just going and it's just off to this skill. I don't think I can finish the mod today. Like, I could finish the mod today by only focus on killing bosses, because it's no fun. Yeah. So now I'm just gonna do the pumpkin event. I need to buy some pumpkin from the dryad. I think I can easily do the pumpkin event. Look at it. Like, look how strong I am. It's gonna be so easy. Oh yeah, probably not. I'm not probably gonna finish kill all the boss today. I probably need to build some houses first. Dude, I first thought melee is bad because I'm still playing like the old, like the old version of Terraria, you know. The old version of Terraria, the melee is so bad. Because back then melee is just like another range. You know, you don't stay close to kill bosses, and if you play melee, early game melee is so bad. But now it's actually like quite nice now. Now, what was this? Was it actually a mod weapon? So it probably not nice, right? Look at it. It Terrablade, so it's really nice. So melee allow is just insanely nice now. Awesome. This is modded weapon. Even though melee modded weapon kind of overpowered if depending on what melee you use, it is still kind of essence for the melee weapon. Look at it. Yeah. How do you make naughty box then? I forgot. I think you need loom, right? Loom and oh, easy. We wait until morning, then I'm grab some naughty box and wait until evening so I can do frost moon. I think that's what it calls, a frost event. But yeah, fun fact: if you build your door out of out not titanium, out of like metal, like the lead door, the monster cannot break the door. Cannot like open the door. In fact, but the wooden door is so easy to crack. What is it? One for all? Oh yeah, the one for all thingy basically enchantment mod I add. Basically it's just a small buff for a few stuff. Well actually it is somewhat busted though because look at it. I had God Slayer, Lifesteal, Crit Chain and Sign. God Slayer buff is basically you deal damage based on enemy health. Insanely overpowered. Okay, let's make naughty box. I cannot grab it. Maybe I don't have silk. Oh, I have it. Oh, why I cannot craft naughty box? Yeah, meteor ectoplasm is so soul of fright. I don't think I have soul of fright. Right. Oh, I kind of want to reroll it into legendary. It's such a good weapon. Oh, right. Boom. Ah, goddamn. Demonic, superior, keen, damage, strong. I want legendary, man. How hard is it to roll legendary? But I got 6 platinum, and I'm refutably I cannot get legendary. Is demonic better? Demonic, let me see. Godly, strong. Demonic had like, oh, the godly way better. Curious. Yeah, sure. Can I even get a legendary on this item because it's a melee weapon? Melee weapon is legendary. I think race weapon is mythic, right? Why it costs so much? Okay, I'm gonna watch something on the side. The ADHD kicking.
Ubisoft has people running defense for Assassin's Creed like crazy.
Why people
because every piece of media that they release about Assassin's
Why people defending. Wait, hold on. Let me turn on the thing. Okay, I think you guys see it. I don't know why people want to defend the dumpster fire of a game. Dude, it had such a bad public. Sorry. If you guys can hear that because I'm drinking. Dude, it had such a bad publicity?
Assassin's Creed is just getting like massively shit on.
Well, apparently when Ubisoft is not using bots to defend themselves, they're using Sweet Baby Inc. Park Place reports Japanese consultant used by Ubisoft and the New York Times to attack gamers over AC Shadows was actually a Sweet Baby.
I wonder who thought this was a good idea, that how do we deal with people not liking our product? Let's attack them and maybe they'll have to like it after that. What kind of a dumbass strategy is that?
Attacking people don't like your shit.
Employee. It's got to be some of the worst things you could do to defend yourself as a company, using bots and using Sweet Baby Inc. Like, what are they thinking? In a most recent hit piece by the New York Times that appears to have been done in collaboration with Ubisoft, the outlet's Zachary Small cited a so-called Japanese consultant and translator who claimed that criticism of the game was being done by individuals in the West using translators, and that the Japanese people were not upset with how the game not only featured Yasuke as a protagonist, but...
This is the classic journalism spin. A lot of people need to be aware of this because it's a huge problem that goes over a lot of people's heads. So we're going to look at this statement here, and we're going to draw a line around it. Who claimed that the criticism of the game was being done by individuals in the West using translators. And then this part right here, actually just the rest of it, basically,
so they
is
say,
the part that's not true. So,
they say in the Western people who go to Japanese side of like YouTube or like Twitter and who will translate English to Japanese to shit on the shit on like the Japanese branch for Ubisoft. Yo, this is so fucking stupid. Like, who does it? Who does it? I don't deny, like, there are a small group of people, but it's so easy to notice, like, what is Google Translate or not. Like, just basically, if you can see like the real way for Google Translate, but in not translate, it translates one to one instead of like the way people talk. So that's why people can know, okay, see guy using translation to talk to me, yeah, I can get it. Yeah, it's just basically, it's so easy to deter.
What usually people do and journalists do is they tell a story by telling you one truth and one lie. It is absolutely verifiably true that a lot of the comments that were posted in Japanese were in fact people from the West that were just using Google Translate to make the letters in Japanese. This is verifiable, it is true, and it is unequivocally stupid, number one, and also these people were not Japanese. However, to say that, and this is what happens, right? So like you say something that's true, you get people, yeah, I remember seeing that, and then you tell the lie. The Japanese people are not upset about how the game not only features Yasuki as a protagonist, but also that he's depicted as a samurai. So, there we go. That's exactly how it happens. And the big problem here, the reason why this keeps happening, is because the average person has, I think, less of a command of the English language now than they did 10 years ago. And I think 10 years ago, they had less of a command of the English language then than they did 10 years prior to that. The problem is that reading and literacy levels are going, and also, like, it's not even just reading and literacy, it's competency with reading. That's what really matters, right? It's not just, oh, do I know what I'm reading? It's about, can I evaluate what I'm reading? And the answer to that is no. People cannot see this, and they get manipulated easily.
That he's depicted as a samurai. Bro, people in Japan literally made a song that mocks AC Shadows that in only 2 months has already gotten nearly 3 million views.
Jesus.
And of course, all over the internet, plenty of Japanese people have also criticized Ubisoft, plenty of videos, plenty of posts all over social media, etc.
And also, it's true that every single comment that's made in Japanese is not also made by a Westerner. It's, again, muddying the waters. It's disinformation. IQ is dropping across the board from fluoride. For sure. So true. You're right about everything. It's also flat.
Spreading by just lockdowns of tweet.
And these bootlickers really want to try and say that it's all just Westerners using translators. They then write about Hashimoto, who, as you can see here, was listed as a freelance narrative design consultant over at Sweet Baby Inc.
So this is the person who wrote it, and then they were actually on Sweet Baby. Yeah, what a fucking surprise. It reminds me of the George Carlin, it's all a big club and you're not in it. Man. That's crazy, isn't it?
And they say Hashimoto told the New York Times, quote, it was people in the West who were upset with seeing Yasuke as a samurai.
Right.
Small added. Small, for those that don't know, is the journalist behind said New York Times article.
Yes.
They say, Small added that Hashimoto explained, quote, that many of the negative online comments written in Japanese appear to have been roughly translated from English. The narrative...
Many of the... And so this is, again, if you look again, many of the negative comments, which is true, but is many most? Is many 20%? I would say 20% of something is very many of them. Like 1 out of 5 is huge.
20.
Online comments written in Japanese appear to have been roughly translated from English. And also, this is only in the context of one video that's being used as a sample. And the sample is being used from the Ubisoft Japan video. Whereas there were other people with Japanese communities that talked about it that transcended that and also other videos about it that were universally negative. So it's, again, more misinformation and more misleading of the reader.
The narrative that Hashimoto, Small, and Ubisoft were trying to spin was outrageous to begin with, given that Small had written just 2 paragraphs ahead of his citation of Hashimoto that Ubisoft attempted to assume concerns about the game's authenticity, apologizing in a lengthy statement for promotional materials that it said had bothered some Japanese audiences.
Attempted to assuage concerns about a game's authenticity. So, yes, very clear. It is very clear that Ubisoft thought this was a problem. And if Ubisoft actually thought that the only people that were unhappy were racist Westerners that don't like black people, they wouldn't have posted a message in Japanese to their Japanese audience apologizing to them directly. So even Ubisoft doesn't believe this, because if they did, they wouldn't have posted a Japanese apology.
There definitely like a lot of Japanese people doesn't like the game.
This is what happens when you use logic. This type of thinking immediately falls apart.
I mean, it's so easy just to make Yasuke like a side character.
Even before this, Small noted, the inclusion of Yasuke was the primary complaint, but observers also pointed to the presence of Chinese architecture and period inappropriate flags. The controversy became so heated that a small right-wing political party in Japan formally asked the government to comment on what is considered historical inaccuracies.
So, again, so you see a small right-wing party, and this is like any time that I see... This is like just a, like there are words. Let me actually think about this. There's a lot of extra ones there. Let me go ahead and just skip all of those.
Hold on.
And oh yeah, there's the Sony thing. I remember that. Yeah, that was my prediction. Yeah, I have a lot of these. Okay, let's have another one. Words that when I read them, I realize I am reading propaganda. So far right, alt right, believed by some to be, right wing, yeah. I mean, just all variants of that, basically. Communist.
Right, what the hell I'm watching?
Socialism. Nazi. Conspiracy theory. Woke. DEI. Let's start with this. Anytime that I read one of these words, I instantly put my guard up. These are some of the most misused words right now in discourse. Anytime that I see any of these words used for any reason, I am immediately on guard. Why not left? Well, that's the communist and socialism. The difference is like, actually... How do you spell fascism? I know that's not how to spell it, but maybe it is. Anyway, yeah, fascism is another one, right? Yeah, they're basically buzzwords. It is. That's a shock. But yeah, what's DEI? Diversity, inclusion, and diversity, equity, inclusion. It's like a big what do you call it? It's a big umbrella term. And so incels, yeah, I could have more listed as well. But like the point that I'm making here is this:
there's so many words.
It's that when I read these words, I automatically assume that the person is trying to mislead me or make me think something by proxy. So a right-wing political group, they are trying to make you think by proxy that they're racist. And this is what a lot of people do. And I actually really like reading articles like this, and I like talking about this, because I think that there's not enough people that are dissecting this language and showing it for how misleading and manipulative it really is. We have a huge problem with, like, language manipulation. And again, the fact that so many people are functionally illiterate, or at least they lack the critical thinking to evaluate things that are written, that this goes over so many people's heads. But you're seeing this happen. It will only get worse. It will. And that's why I love doing videos like this and talking about it. So it's, again, a small right wing, and also small, right? Which is true. This is all true. And the problem is that it is framed in a way that implies something that's inaccurate.
small
formally
right
asked the
wing. I don't
government to
think there
comment
is
on
any right
what
wing. It's just
it
people get mad
considered
at video games.
historical inaccuracies.
Yeah.
This is not a question, by the way, what it considered. So basically what it's doing here is that it's taking the presence of Chinese architecture, it's attributing it to a source that is not to be believed, and then it's using the fact that the source is considering it as a way to invalidate what the consideration was used as. Do you see how this happens? It's a framing device. Yes, it's a framing device. Words are propping up a weak statement. Yes. And again, I love reading this stuff. I love doing it because it's like I fucking hate it. I hate the manipulation. I hate the lies. It's so annoying. It's the spin. Yeah.
If it was just Western people, why was a Japanese political party requesting an investigation into the game? And why did Ubisoft issue a so-called apology to Japanese gamers?
Great question.
Nevertheless, it's been discovered that Hashimoto was actually an employee of Sweet Baby Inc. from February 2020 to April 2023, as noted by his own LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
Not only is Hashimoto a former employee of Sweet Baby Inc., but he's an activist journalist whose articles are featured at Polygon, Siliconera, Vim, and multiple outlets owned by Gamers Group. Mark Kern, aka Grums, shared one article Hashimoto wrote on Medium where he criticized Animal Crossing New Horizons by acknowledging Japan's history of colonial rule. You gotta be kidding me. This dude actually got pressed by Animal Crossing, saying it's like a colonizer game.
What the fuck?
By the way, we didn't do colonization. We did conquering. We came to America and we killed everybody here and we took their stuff. The whole idea that it's colonialism, this is a euphemism. And Japan did the same thing. Everywhere did this. Genghis Khan did this. Colonialism is a euphemism for conquering. And that's what really happened.
Why are these people always so friggin' lame and weird? Earlier this year, Hashimoto also wrote an article at Vim.
That's a great
titled,
question.
How gay can you be in Dragon's Dogma 2? An investigation. What the frick? What am I reading here, man? It is unsurprising that Ubisoft and the New York Times...
you can have sex with a cat. I mean, I feel like that's pretty good. Like, that seems like, I mean, if you can do that, you do whatever the hell you want. Yes, you can. You go to the brothel. I did it on accident. It was on, I didn't mean to do it. Like, I didn't try to, I didn't know it was going to happen. I didn't know, basically, like, I was like I don't know why. Like, it was just like, I don't know what, I mean, yeah, I don't even.
Accident, what?
Use Hashimoto as a so-called expert to attack gamers.
Right.
It's an old play the Access Media uses. For example,
yeah, this is exactly right. They're using this person, and again, like, you know, they have a Japanese last name, and so they're going to be seen as a person who is looking at it from the perspective of Japan. And that's, again, more types of, it is an appeal to authority. It's like a soft appeal to authority. And so it's no longer, and it's, again, like, what is it at the baseline? You know what it is at the baseline? Identity politics. It's, we are going to use this person's identity that's going to passively cause you to have an implicit level of trust and authenticity in their words for us to push an agenda that's misleading.
Amazon Prime previously used this play and the lead up to release The Lord of the Rings of Power Season 1.
Yeah.
However, instead of using the New York Times, Amazon went to Vanity Fair and writers Anthony Bresnikan and Joanna Robinson. That duo then launched their attack on gamers, saying, when Amazon released photos of its multicultural cast, even without character names or plot details, the studio endured a reflexive attack from trolls, the anonymous online kind. Then they cited a woman...
And again, right, it's like people that don't want a, you know, obviously, you know, Lord of the Rings is written as a medieval European fantasy. Who do you think was in medieval Europe? Pretty much all white people.
European.
What are we even talking about? Yeah, it was all white people. Like, and I haven't seen Shogun, but I have a feeling that almost everybody there is probably going to be Japanese, right? Yeah. I wonder why. There's one white guy? Yeah, sure.
Named Maria Rios Maldonado, who they described as a Tolkien scholar. However, she's anything
Focus.
but. Rather, she was a PhD student at the University of Glasgow who is interested in ethics, feminist theory, and encountering the others in Tolkien's works. It's really
Encountering
funny
the
how
others.
ethics for these people really just means bootlicking massive corporations.
Well, it's not about bootlicking a massive corporation. It's about pushing an agenda that they believe in. So, yeah, what is the other in Tolkien's works? I'm assuming that this is probably...
Dude, what with the modern day shit that everyone just want to be like, oh yeah, it's hot. Oh, it's just this, it's just that. Politics. Oh, we need to be inclusive with bunch of people. No, back then the video game doesn't have any inclusive stuff, but there's still people, still like diversity because they don't do it. That shit. So annoying. Like most of the stuff back then doesn't even including, doesn't even need the DEI, and they still do.
how the Haradrim and the other types of like people from the east are perceived as being other races of people. That's probably the orc family. No, I think they're probably, yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen.
To happen to be the Equality and Diversity Officer for the University of Glasgow Center for Fantasy and the Fantastic. I think I just lost IQ reading that right there. Anyways, continuing. Next, Vanity Fair used Maldonado to attack Tolkien fans and imply they're all racist for simply wanting a lore-accurate adaptation. She questioned, obviously there was going to be push and backlash, but the question is from whom? Who are these people that feel so threatened or disgusted by the idea that an elf is black or Latino or Asian?
And this is one thing that a lot of people do, is they use words like threatened or disgusted in order to emotionally elevate the conversation to make their opponents feel and seem less reasonable. This is a very common debate strategy, where you're not actually appealing to an argument, you're not creating any sort of a compelling agreement or like a compelling narrative. You're just trying to make the other person look ridiculous, and that's what extremely what happens extremely common.
Okay, now my illuminate.
It's ad hominem. I'm not really sure. I'd have to really think about that. But like, what I'm saying is that they over exaggerate it to make the people that are disagreeing seem unreasonable and to make themselves seem better. So anytime you see somebody that elevates language, like to threatened or disgusted or something like that, you should automatically assume that this person is trying to mislead you. It's bad faith. It's bad faith description.
Argument, yeah.
The tactic did not end up working for Rings of Power, as The Hollywood Reporter's Kim Masters reported in April 2023 that 63% of individuals who watched part of the show's premiere back in 2022 did not complete the show. She wrote, while Amazon, like other streamers, provides only limited data and internally held information even more closely than usual in series, sources confirmed that the Rings of Power had a 37% domestic completion rate. For those outside the US, the completion rate was higher. Masters shared overseas.
Very hard for me to say, is that good or bad?
It reached 45%. A 50% completion rate would be solid, but not spectacular, according to insiders. And so this sort of tactic is also unlikely to work with Assassin's Creed Shadows, as Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot already revealed that the game is unlikely to be the best-selling Assassin's Creed game of all time.
I could assume that.
Barclays' Nick Dempsey asked him, when you talk about it being the most ambitious, are you hoping for it to be the best-selling Assassin's Creed game? To which Guillemot replied, at this time we can say we expect Assassin's Creed to be among the high sellers of the company so far. Okay,
yeah,
so...
I mean, like, basically no, we don't think it's going to be a bestseller, but we think it'll do well. Yeah, sure.
In other words, he dodged the question. The game's pre-orders do not look good either. Craig Skitstimus, aka Stuttering Craig, who owns and hosts the Side Scrollers podcast, shared that a retail insider informed him that the game is selling less than one copy per store. He says, my insider told me that as of this morning at their nationwide big box chain, Assassin's Creed Shadows has less than 800 pre-orders combined for Xbox and PlayStation 5 company-wide.
I don't believe that. I think that's too low. The reason why I don't believe that is because at the Japanese PlayStation store, the copy for like Assassin's Creed was like number 1 and number 3 for the deluxe edition and the base edition.
Wait.
So, like, if Japan probably doesn't like this more than we do because they feel like it's an assault on their culture, and they're topping the charts with that, that's only physical. Yeah, I don't think this is. I don't think that you can really base anything off of this.
Wait, hammering?
You have no frame of reference.
They have over 900
right?
stores.
How many people pre-ordered Dragon's Dogma 2? How many people pre-ordered Star Wars Outlaws? How many people pre-ordered... Like, you present a number with no context, and it's like, wow, whoa, what? Like, what does that mean?
Less than one pre-order per store. Yikes. On the PlayStation Store, the Ultimate Edition of the game, which costs around 130 bucks, is ranked 16th behind New World Eternum, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, Silent Hill 2, Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reigns Expansion, and Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Well, of course it is, because it's been out for a long time. But when it first came out, it was highly ranked on the PlayStation Store.
Which, by the way, is a game that I'm excited for. Budokai Tenkaichi 3 was one of the best fighting games of all time. As for Assassin's Creed Shadows, the base game is even further down the list in the 21st place behind Disney epic Mickey Rebrushed, Throne and Liberty, and Sonic X Shadow Generations. The Gold Edition sits on the second page in 30th place. And
that's also another reason why it would not be successful. It's because the instances of it are being split. So you can see Dragon Age is here and also here. So if there's two separate placings and one of them has 60 and the other one has 40, you could easily see that, and this seems to be the case with New World Eternum, Assassin's Creed Shadows, but games that only have one release copy are going to have a natural advantage inside of this algorithm because they're not pulling and dividing the sales between two different types of copies of the game. So like, and this is, it's very important to... Let's just try to look at this fairly. That's all I want to do.
Saying, what do you make of this revelation that Hashimoto was a former Sweet Baby Inc. employee? Yeah, like I said in the very intro, I just can't believe that Ubisoft is doing what they do and they think this is like the right move. They're one of the largest gaming companies in the entire world, and they could just put that power and money towards making good games. But apparently that's too much to ask. Instead, we see them come up with all kinds of excuses and contradictions, bunch of bots all over the internet attempting to defend them. We see it all over Twitter and YouTube comments, for example. Heck, I made a video a few days ago where I talked about how a video that I made talking about the terrible financial situation for Ubisoft had gotten an influx of bot comments. They were like spamming the comment section with periods. And then in between the period spam, there were other bots leaving comments attempting to defend Ubisoft and Star Wars Outlaws, but their comments sounded so nonsensical. And now it looks like the New York Times is collaborating with some ex-Sweet Baby Inc. employee to defend Ubisoft as well. This whole situation...
Here's one thing you have to keep in mind, is that every single piece of mainstream media that's like part of this like kind of cabal, every single one of them is against you. They all have the exact same opinion about this, and they will work in concert to destroy your reputation and to make your position seem unreasonable and bad. It's the same reason why, like, for example, like Stellar Blade comes out, or Hogwarts Legacy comes out, or what was the recent one? Pow World comes out, or I think there's a couple other games that were like very big controversy games. Space Marine 2 comes out. Every single one of them has the same cookie cutter opinion, and they have the exact same agenda. You're seeing a diversity of company names, but you're not seeing any diversity of thought.
Oh, so mushroom.
All of these mainstream publications have the exact same agenda, and they work together to push that agenda.
The blue ball.
Like, yeah, it's unironically a matrix. And you'd have to be blind not to see this.
Situation is just so bizarre. On top of all that, there was the old news where they came out with Skull and Bones trying to say this is like a quadruple A game, everybody. Oh, yeah, and then the whole like gamers need to get comfortable not owning their games. It's like the majority.
I think again that comment was out of context. There's a lot of things that we can shit on Ubisoft for. That isn't one of them.
Stuff that comes out from this company is just like the worst statements and the worst actions they could possibly do. It's like they have an option. Do you want to do something good, or do you want to do like the worst option possible? And they always pick the worst option. And to end with some comedy, let's go back to that whole Hashimoto Animal Crossing thing. Because Hashimoto made this tweet, says, "Hi, I wrote about Animal Crossing New Horizons and why acknowledging Japan's history of colonial rule is important to the discussion." No, it's literally not at all. It's a freaking...
Nobody cares. Nobody thinks it's important at all. That's what I think people need to realize is that
Dude, why do
just because
crossing,
you say something is
you mix
important doesn't make it
Crossing
important.
with colonialism? What the fuck?
Obviously, it doesn't cover everything, but feel free to read New Horizons and Japanese Colonialism. Oh God.
Yeah, no way I fucking read that. I saw the title and no fucking
Animal
way I
Crossing
read that
game.
shit.
If you're taking it that seriously and getting all mad at it, something's seriously wrong with this person. They end by saying, obviously it doesn't cover everything, but feel free to read.
Well, it's the old adage of when you're a hammer,
shit,
every
amazing.
problem looks like a nail. These are people that view everything through this lens. So as soon as they see something like Animal Crossing, they can't help themselves but to think the exact same thing. How do people get like this? I think that people get like this by... I don't know. It's probably really complicated. I don't really...
Terra made is stronger, right?
I think that a very large component of it is actually guilt. It is it's a sense of guilt that they have, and then it's performative empathy in order to like get positive attention. In general, I think that if you want to find out why somebody thinks something, figure out what they get out of it or how it benefits them, and then you can generally have the answer.
The headline: Animal Crossing, New Horizons, and Japanese Colonialism.
Yeah, like, what the hell
Weirdo. Anyways,
Yeah,
I will leave it
real
there.
weird.
Thank you all for tuning in.
That's
If you
such a
enjoyed my
weird
coverage on this
title,
topic,
like, oh,
please
yeah, I
consider
write
liking
about
and or
Animal
subscribing.
Crossing.
Appreciate you.
Oh, yeah,
See
what
you in
did
the
you write
comments and in the
about
next
Animal
one.
Crossing with Japanese colonialism?
Today we talk about
Just a second.
Well, apparently.
I completely agree with what he's saying, and I just hope you guys can realize and read, and hopefully try to read between the lines and look at the way that something is being implied, because this is one thing that I think really matters a lot, is that when you realize that somebody is trying to make you think a certain thing, you have to have your guard up. And I think it's also really important when we're talking about things that we agree with, too.
260 global.
Because, like, I think that a
I'm gonna
lot of
try to get
times
it
people are
400
more willing to
global.
accept misinformation if the misinformation reaffirms what they already believe. They're like, well, hey, give the video a like, by the way. This is very, very good. I was glad to see this. I've watched a lot of Hero High videos over the years. And, yeah, Pin of Truth, yeah, we knew it. Exactly, everybody knew it. The Japanese realized it wasn't a video game, but a propaganda piece aimed at rewriting their history. It wasn't aimed at rewriting their history. It was aimed at building up Ubisoft's reputation as being a developer that cares about social issues. That's why they did it. That's why they care.
Dude,
It had nothing to do with anything else.
Reality. I don't want any like real idea, real like politics inside a video. I want like I think people like politics. I don't deny that shit. People enjoy politics, but as long as it stay in the realm of fictional rather than mixed with real life shit. I guarantee you, people like politics, but it should stay inside a game, inside their own fictional stuff. Yeah, that's why Wolfenstein. People like Wolfenstein. Yeah, you kill Nazi and people still get mad at you killing Nazi. I don't understand. Such a weird way to do it. But yeah, that's just how shit go. They're watching another one. What? The most evil channel on YouTube.
The most evil channel on YouTube?
Coco
That's
Melon?
pretty hard. Like, to be the most, like, that's a tough competition.
My son is almost 2 and I've been letting him watch Cocomelon, but now I had to get him speech therapy here so I can get him to
So, like,
talk. There are hundreds and hundreds
94?
of anecdotes
Oh my
in
god,
which
it's so
parents
cheap now. I
mention
remember
the exact
sitting
same
got like
problem.
5
The
platinum or
Cocomelon
something.
show is so insanely addictive, it's being compared to nicotine and causing developmental issues amongst the kids who can't stop.
What the fuck? What do they do?
Watching Children's TV expert Jerica Sands calls it the most damaging show a child can watch, explaining the sneaky ways in which they make the show addictive.
So they're trying to make this, like, what are they trying to make kids stupid?
Colors. Take, for example, the wheels on the bus. The three main colors, blue, green, and yellow, are all at maximum saturation, meaning they cannot be made any brighter, no matter how hard you try. Extreme saturation is normally used for alerts and notifications, as it's exciting, dynamic, and attracts attention, which is why it's also used in slot machines. Cocomelon put these colors in perfect contrast, making them appear even more vibrant, which is different to, for example, Bluey, in which the colors instead blend together. Cocomelon's also different because it's highly repetitive. There's a reason they have 38 videos with over 1 billion views.
38 videos with over... Oh my god. Bro, this makes Mr. Beast look like a joke. This is insane.
The
child's brain is wired to learn through repetition, so it feels right to them to watch the same thing over and over again. Cocomelon abuses this in almost every video. For example, in the Yes Yes Playground song, they pick a word to repeat 3 times in every sentence, pairing it with a subtly repeating background lullaby, keeping children hooked. Literally no show or movie puts my son into a deep trance the way Cocomelon does.
So it's like mental manipulation, brainwashing for like babies and toddlers.
Maybe mind
control. What the fuck?
Second it's on the TV, he turns into a toddler zombie who doesn't see or hear anything else that's going on in the room.
To be fair, I do that all the time, but yeah.
Is only exacerbated by Cocomelon's subtitles, which have also been a heavy point of criticism. The letters are not educational. I can barely read them fast enough. It's simply another interesting element to capture your little one's attention. Cocomelon explains in every description, our goal is to help make learning a fun and enjoyable experience for kids, giving you the peace of mind that your children are receiving quality educational content.
Yeah, I think this is another example. Remember what I was talking about, how things being stated as being healthy should have a higher standard of accountability? I think that if you want to say something is educational, I feel the same way about it. It's made to make money. Yeah, like this is an appeal to like some sort of like authority or something separate, right?
People have argued that they're teaching exactly what children shouldn't do. For example, in the No No Bedtime song, the baby refuses to brush his teeth, have a bath, put on pajamas.
I didn't know I watched Cocomelon. That's crazy.
I
guess they must add this when I was a kid.
The education is that he eventually agrees to do so, yet a TikTok user was critical, stating, anytime I'd ask my son to do a simple task, he'd say no, no, no. He's sitting there watching Cocomelon, which taught him no, 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 and to say no to me. On the topic of education, Jerica...
Bro, like, they're turning the kids against their parents. Oh my god!
It's kind of dumb, but it's so fucking funny. I don't know.
Stated, these people don't give a shit about our children. They care about money. That's it. Your child's cognitive development in direct exchange for their wealth. And there's pretty good evidence supporting this. A New York Times journalist...
I do have to say, like, I think that expecting YouTube to raise your kids and teach your kids these, like, very crucial things, you're making a mistake by doing that. Like, even if whether it's like a TV show or anything like that, it's bad to do that. No, I'm not excusing Cocomelon or saying that they're good, but you know, it takes two to tango here, and I think the parents should have a degree of accountability for this.
Visited Cocomelon's studio, discovering their #1 focus is keeping children hooked. Cocomelon's data and analytics team sifts constantly through YouTube numbers to determine exactly what resonates.
It's like, I mean, you're basically like, I mean, this is like a fucking Nax-geared rating team that's like farming an Elwyn forest. Like, they're like camping level 2 players. And they have, like, entire analytics and data and psychology behavioral teams. Bro, these kids don't even have a chance. Yeah, they're spawn camping. I'm not even kidding.
God damn it.
outfits? Should a girl wear black jeans or blue jeans? Should the music be loud or softer? Should the bus be yellow or red? Yellow is the answer, as they use a darker method to ensure that they're correct. Cocomelon has a dedicated Distractotron room, in which once a month children are brought here one at a time and shown a handful of episodes to figure out exactly which parts of the shows are engaging and which are tuned out.
It's like you get the Clockwork Orange going on. I like that a lot. There you go. That's smart.
Next to the TV playing Cocomelon, there's a second screen which plays a continuous loop of banal real-world scenes. A guy pouring a cup of coffee, someone getting a haircut, each lasting about 20 seconds. Whenever a youngster looks away from the Moonbug show to glimpse the Distractotron, a note is jotted down. We can see what they're looking at and the exact moment when they got distracted.
So how do you upgrade?
This is a crazy level of min-maxing just to farm a 2-year-old.
Damn it.
Yeah, this is insane. Yeah, they're like optimizing how can you turn this kid's brain into jelly the easiest way. MK Ultra? Well, this is MK Ultra Kids Edition.
Therefore, education clearly isn't the primary goal. Keeping kids' attention is, and this is proven by Cocomelon's most addictive element, rapid camera cutting. It's crazy how many times the frame changes on Cocomelon. It's the same type of addicting behavior that we experience on a TikTok binge. It's the quick change of frame that releases that dopamine and makes the videos addicting to watch. Count the seconds between a change of frame. Well, TikToker the Circus Brain did exactly this. He firstly counts the changes on My Little Pony, concluding there's about 6 seconds between each cut.
Well, that makes sense considering that, I mean, I think the target audience for My Little Pony is 28-year-old men.
He then compares it to Cocomelon.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1.
Oh, it reset. It resets.
In her video, the night.
Jesus, yeah. Like, I don't even know if I could watch that. Oh my god. So I guess that's how they keep the kid's attention, because they keep switching frames, so the kid has to focus to pay attention to what's happening.
That is Cocomelon, Savantix draws a similar conclusion. She found that 96% of the shots in Baby Shark were shorter than 2 seconds. She then compares 4 different animated shows, again finding Cocomelon has the shorter shots.
The longest shot on a Cocomelon video was 6 seconds.
Wow.
The longest shot on Arcane was 8 seconds. The longest shot on Bluey was 27 seconds. And the longest shot on Encanto was 18 seconds.
Which, when combined with every other element, creates some terrifying statistics. Dr. Kristen Summer explained that when showing an infant normal video content, they'll focus on the screen just 11% of the time. However, when the video is instead switched to Cocomelon, their screen engagement skyrockets to a whopping 74%.
Damn. Bro, they min-maxed the fuck out of this. That's really impressive. I mean, like, I don't know, really, like, is it that impressive that you're able to, like, you know, fucking mind control a 2-year-old? Like, I'm not sure if it's really that impressive, but it's still kind of surprising.
Min-maxing my control.
Therefore produces stories such as this.
I
used to volunteer for a preschool and they had song time. A Cocomelon video came on and all of the tots stopped what they were doing, put down their cheese crackers and remained fixated on the screen for the duration of the video. It was honestly kind of terrifying.
This basically is an iPad kid era where people grow up with iPad.
Oh, that's fucking sick, dude. Oh, that's real good.
YouTuber Saberspark shared his own personal anecdote. He asked to watch a Disney movie with his 2 younger cousins, who both completely refused, and instead spent all day glued to an iPad playing the addictive show. In Cocomelon Made My Kid a Zombie, a mother talks about her son. He would be in a daze while watching it. You could be waving your hand right in front of his face, and he wouldn't move. It was almost scary.
Yeah.
This was also discovered by Sarah Mills 98, who explained when the Cocomelon addiction is so real that my 1-year-old can navigate the TV to turn it on by himself.
Bro, this kid is fucked.
Navigate TV to turn on Cocomelon.
Like, I want to know what's going to happen in 5 years when they try to teach these kids how to do math. Like, look at his fucking face, man. He's cooked. He's super, bro. He's a year old. He's already cooked. Oh, man.
However, nothing shows the addiction better than the Coco Melon TikTok trend. Parents will play the show's intro loudly and video their kids sprinting toward the television, where you can witness their mood change instantly. The New York Times journalist found...
I feel like a lot of kids do that. I'm not really sure how much. Like, anytime that you played the Pokemon theme, I would be doing the same thing.
I mean, yeah, it's like
something similar. The kid in the Distractotron had shown up in the midst of a tantrum, which ended the second he heard the Coco Melon theme song. It was no surprise to Wheeler, the head of research. 99% of kids, he said, if they're having issues when they get here, once that Coco Melon song comes on, they're like, life is okay. All is good with the world.
Bro. This is amazing. Yeah, like, this is... Wow. Is toddler fentanyl?
Ton of fentanyl.
Oh, man. This is, like...
Obviously, there's a reason for this.
Yeah, for
Coco
money.
Melon is so hyper-stimulating that it actually acts as a drug, and what happens when you take the drug away. Young children experiencing symptoms of addiction and withdrawal, obviously leaving them completely dysregulated. TikTok user ThePoff1 filmed what happens when you take the show away, explaining he'll be inconsolable for at least 10 to 15 mins after, adding in the description, Coco Melon meltdown is legit. Once you have a taste of the cocoa, it's hard to break the addiction, which...
The taste of the cocoa. That should sound like actual drug.
What the fuck is going on? That's insane.
This Reddit user had experienced even worse. My husband and I have been worried about our child. I can slowly see how she'd throw violent tantrums at home and in church whenever she'd get bored and would want to watch the show. Her behavior changes the moment she watches the show, and she will not even eat her meals if she wouldn't watch it.
I do think that, like, there is, like, a certain degree of, like, parenting skill issue that's happening with this. Because it's like, who turned the show on, right? Who did this, right? But it's still crazy how addictive this is, even then.
After these tantrums end, kids can experience a general discomfort in the speed of everyday life. The more they watch the show, the more their brain begins to expect this intense level of stimulation.
See, like, I used to watch Dora the Explorer whenever I was younger. I was like 14, and I would watch Dora the Explorer. And I remember that I watched it for the exact opposite reason.
What?
Because I would watch it before I would go to school. I was actually probably 15 or 16. Yeah, that's not true. And the reason why is that it was like, it was so dumb and so slow and predictable that I could just totally turn my brain off and just watch this show and relax. So it's crazy to see the exact, it was like, yeah, it's like a detox. Yeah. It's like okay, the world, like, oh yeah, bro, like, I gotta get my driver's license, and then, like, where am I gonna go to college? Like, oh, bro, and then it's like swiper, no swiping, you know, and she's like, uno, dos, tres. Okay, all right, finally, now I can fucking, let's get back on an even keel here, right? Yeah, it's a bit of an opiate, right? Exactly, and that's how it was. So yeah, it's weird for me to see this because I had the exact opposite experience. That's crazy.
Basically, Coco Melon overstimulates their brains so much that everything else just seems slow and boring in comparison.
However, the potential consequences get much worse than this.
I want to see the kid
As mentioned
meltdown.
at the start, it was the cause of a child's speaking problems, with a notable reply reading, same thing happened with my daughter too.
What does that have to do? I don't know if that's really
but
Coco
can't
Melon.
speak properly. She knows the words, but she does not like to frame the sentence or speech. She has been watching these Coco Melons or such other stuffs for 2 or 3 years. Hope we're not too late. Over on Reddit.
I thought I'm getting a lot more. 2 to 3
I
years.
think that it's genetic with this one.
Over on Reddit, a speech-language pathologist explained, screen time in general is linked with speech delays for a variety of reasons, but CoComelon is excessively bad. Firstly, unlike other TV shows or movies, it doesn't have a story. It's just very short clips with poorly written songs.
So it's just like there's no story, there's like no, it's just like vapid, brain dead, fucking like
Brain rot content.
Oh my god. Like brain soup, loud noises. Kids are just watching a video. I know, it's crazy. Wow.
Unable to follow the plot, learn vocabulary, and see the resolution of a conflict supported by infant specialist Meg Fora.
And the problem with fast-paced TV programs is we find that little one's language development is slower.
On the Agents of Speech YouTube channel, this is again confirmed.
The main problem with watching videos on the internet is that they don't know how to use the language that they learn.
But he adds that 4 to 5 hours of screen time per day can make a toddler completely non-verbal.
Non-verbal, so basically
4 to 5 hours. Like whenever I was a little kid, like 2 or 3 years old,
basically unable to speak.
Was I spending 4 or 5 hours on the screen? Probably, yeah. Like, I mean, I was playing video games, man. Like, I remember by the time I was like, if I could, I would be on that game or doing that shit all day. Yeah, not at 2. The crazy thing is that I actually was. Like, my mom has photos of me as a little fucking kid, as like a baby, basically, sitting there playing Atari.
God dang.
Yep.
The game
Same beating Sonic at 4. I didn't beat Sonic at 4, bro. Like, that's like some fucking like gaming prodigy shit. You can beat Sonic at 4 years old? I don't even believe that.
They did a
that
PC
shit was
game
hard.
too, so it's kind of hard. Yeah.
You fucking
I don't know
lying,
what I think.
bro.
I'm just pressing the random button around.
4 to 5 hours is obviously a lot of time,
Maybe you
but
beat
in
the first
CoComelon
level.
Made My Kid a Zombie, researchers discovered that 5-year-olds who watch more than 2 hours of
beat it
TV a
now.
day tended to have lower attention spans
Yeah.
and were 7.7 times more likely to show symptoms of ADHD. These screen times might be even lower for CoComelon specifically, because as explained by Jerica Sands, not all screen time is created equal. A child who just watched 30 minutes of CoComelon and a child
So
who
you need to have the kids watch Lord of the Rings.
just watched 30 minutes of Trash Truck will look like a very, very different child.
Yeah.
Thankfully, here lies a simple solution. Sierra Renee
ADHD going ham. A lot of kids have it. I think like really being hyper addicted to being stimulated constantly. Like I'll see these like TikTok videos and it'll be like, there'll be like 3 things happening all at the same time. There'll be like some fucking like a video playing, a person playing a video game, and then like words coming out and like the words are popping up. Like, yeah, it's nuts. Like for me, TikTok's the same. Yeah, that's a good idea. Lead, asbestos, plastics, CoComelon. Yeah, bro, like these kids, like they're eating they're eating lead from like the Lunchly stuff from Logan Paul, or sorry, from like, you know, I guess Mr. Beast and like the Feastables. They're addicted to candy. They're like having fucking you know, sodium, high blood pressure at 4 years old because they can't stop drinking Prime Energy. They're like addicted to this TV show that has no plot and it's just a bunch of loud noises and weird words and like. So by 5 years old, bro, like your kid is functionally fucking retarded. Like that's it, bro. Like by 5,
In the end, we're still drinking lead.
just give up.
Dude, no matter what time, kids still drink lead. You cannot deny the fact that Americans decide to eat lead.
Try again. Start over. It's not gonna work. Yeah, he's cooked. He burned out.
Explain my 2-year-old is speech delayed and addicted to Cocomelon. Switched to Miss Rachel 2 days ago, and he's already saying more words and hasn't had any tantrums.
Wow.
Kim.it shared an almost identical anecdote. My 8-month-old was obsessed with Cocomelon and having bad tantrums, so I cancelled Cocomelon and only let her watch Miss Rachel, and she said her first word within the first 3 days of watching. Clearly, parents are able to simply change the channel, but not before leaving Cocomelon a massive amount of dislikes. They've therefore earned the title the absurdly popular kids show parents hate, and Cocomelon has actually responded to the criticism that explain our shows are not intended to replace outdoor playtime or playdates. They have a place in children's entertainment time, and as with food, exercise, etc., it comes down to each parent to find the right and appropriate balance for their children.
I think this is true, but at the same time, you can't say that it's educational. It's like saying this is healthy. Well, what is it? It's fentanyl.
Did it say the
well, you have to use it in moderation. Of course, if you use a lot of fentanyl, it'll be bad for you. Yeah, but using a little bit is also bad. It's just not as bad. Like,
so Cocomelon
yeah,
say that
like
is educational instead of like just,
yeah, just a little
entertainment?
fentanyl. It's just a little bit, you know.
Is ensuring that the quality of the content that we produce is high and beneficial for the development of a child's cognitive and soft skills. It is worth adding that our social media communities are filled with stories of parents who experience firsthand how Moonbug content helps their children. Cocomelon does have a crazy amount of supporters, but it's obvious that some of them are simply ignoring the downsides. My baby learned the alphabet and numbers from Cocomelon. She may not speak a complete sentence, but she expresses her wants through phrases.
Her baby is 7 years old. Yeah. That's the fine print that's not shown in this video. In the comment. Yeah, there's 37, yeah.
Maybe does
They're 15.
Pig will still do math. Yeah, that may be like a huge fucking problem right there.
But is it Cocomelon's responsibility to ensure that babies are talking? Well, no. People love blaming cartoons and games for raising children, and not the shitty parents that don't step in to stop them from watching so much.
Well, both things are true, right? I mean, like, Cocomelon probably does seem to be like, you know, vapid crack addiction porn for like 2-year-olds, absolutely. And it's also the parents' fault for letting the kids watch it. So like, it's bad that it exists, and it's bad that the parents watch it. Saying it takes two to tango doesn't mean that like both parties aren't wrong.
Cocomelon is actually a really sad symbol of parents giving their children tablets instead of actually parenting and interacting with them. Ultimately, parents are the people who choose how much their child consumes.
Yeah. Well, guys, we've got some absolute.
Let's look at that.
My son is.
So yeah, I think so. Parents are the sole issue. I think that parents are the only thing that can solve this problem, but it's fair to say that the content is clearly not educational. If by every type of investigation that's done by any person who is qualified to make an educational judgment on something, like results in saying this isn't educational, then I don't think you should be saying it's educational. I mean, at that point, like, you're misleading parents on purpose, and you're appealing to like a degree of authority or a degree of like quality that you don't actually have. So, yeah, you're right that parents are ultimately accountable for this, but at the same time, that doesn't mean that the people that are taking advantage of the kids shouldn't also be held accountable to an extent as well. And I think that especially if you're presenting, like, it would be one thing if we just say, hey, we're just a kid's show, and if kids want to watch this, they can. If not, then don't watch it. But, like, to the extent that you try to actually present yourself as any form of, like, a healthy or beneficial alternative, then I think that you now have made an extra statement about this, right? Toddlers should not have that much screen time. I don't know how, like, I don't know the first thing about how to, like, I don't have any kids. I'm not sure, right? But it does seem like a problem if you have a kid sitting here watching videos that have 1-second cuts for 5 hours a day. Like, I could easily see that happen. I mean, it's basically the Clockwork fucking Orange. So yeah, easily. I'm suing Coco Melon for $100 million. Why, is your kid retarded? Is that what happened? The kid doesn't know he doesn't know the alphabet. He's 18 years old. There's a huge difference between passive and active screen time. I think that you're probably right about that. Like, my mom, the way that she used to do things is that I remember she'd buy me a game like Secret of Mana, and then she'd just buy the strategy guide. And I'd be like, can you help me figure out the game? She's like, just read the guide. And I was like, I can't read. She says, well, I guess you're not going to beat the game then. Figure it out. That's what it was. That's how I learned to fucking read.
It kind of true. Like, the reason I able to understand a lot of shit. Yeah, the English not even my first language. English not even my first language. The reason I interested in English because of video game. I learned English just to play video game. So yeah, like that basically is the most. And even then, I still didn't read that much. Yeah, funny, right? Let me see, is there any other video? Modern audience? Uh-oh.
So Dragon Age, apparently this has been a very controversial thing online. And so they introduced their character creator, the combat. Here we go.
Our gods are back. Our gods. How do we stand against that?
After 10 years, we're now just a little over a month away from playing Dragon Age The Veilguard. I played a hefty...
I actually didn't realize that it was coming out in over a month. So we're going to be playing this... Oh my god.
A month?
Wow. We're not playing? Oh, I'm playing this game 100%. Absolutely, I'm playing. Do you really think I would miss an opportunity to play a game like this? Are you insane?
7 hours of BioWare's first original game since Anthem in 2019, and...
Anthem? How's Anthem doing?
How Anthem doing? Oh no.
They take it off Steam? Never was on Steam? Oh, okay. I'm sure there's a lot of people playing it then.
Fourth mainline installment in the Dragon Age series, starting with the prologue and later loaded into several different saves. As a longtime fan,
oh my God,
what I'll say is 10 years is a very long time, but so far, what I'll say is 10 years.
Yeah, it not cursive flame, so I don't deal damage. I wonder.
But so far, the Veilguard hasn't disappointed.
It hasn't disappointed. That's right.
I've never seen this before. There's something kind of exciting about it.
Now, I could talk to you about the combat, and I will, or
yes,
the gorgeous locales, that's coming too, or the way it felt, or
I'm
the
sorry, guys.
gorgeous locales.
Am I the only person that looks at this and I think that this is below standard?
Way too below standard. Dude, if you like
your average
game,
Unreal slop Souls-like rug pull NFT game has better graphics than this.
That's coming too, or the way it felt to see Varric and Solus again.
Hey, Chuckles. Hope I'm not interrupting.
Or I could skip straight to the character creator and start with...
All right, let's see it.
There's so much hair. Look, I loved Dragon Age Inquisition.
No, I don't want to see this fucking shit. Because every single time that they have a bunch of hairstyles, it's like 5 hairstyles for men and 55 hairstyles for women. There's bald, short, fade, long hair, balding. That's basically it. Oh, dreadlocks. Yeah, usually they have one for dreadlocks, right? For white guys that are black, right? Sure. Yeah, definitely. Maybe a couple of those. That's it.
Zidi, what actually matters?
But fans have long acknowledged the limitations
and
of
get
its
lifesteal,
character
and you're basically good.
The Veilguard blew
okay,
me
see, wait, you got the emo
acknowledged
haircut?
the limitations of its character creator.
Oh, that's okay. No, it's not really an emo haircut. Never mind, I was wrong.
Character creator.
No.
The Veilguard
yeah,
blew me away in that regard.
Yeah, the last
After
one was.
the lackluster options of the last entry, it's wild to see what we've got to look forward to.
Yeah.
30 hair options for Kunari and 88 for non-Kunari, complete with gorgeous physics
all
as Rook
girl hair
scurries
color.
around
all girl
Northern
hair
Thetis.
options.
So many different hair textures are represented, whether you'd like totally straight hair.
I gotta tell you guys, like, I've been very negative about this game, but I've got to give it to them. I think the hair particles and the hair physics are really impressive. It's some of the best I've ever seen in a game. I've got to give it to them. I think they did a really good job with it. Yeah.
It doesn't look that good for me.
2B waves.
That's
or
really, really good.
4C curls. In making my character, I was drawn immediately to a long braid that whipped around as quickly as I did. Kunari horns also see a massive improvement.
Yeah.
With 49 unique styles, options range from large and imposing to decorative or even asymmetrical.
Okay.
That said, yes, their foreheads can look pretty jarring. I
think this looks fucking garbage. Like, their foreheads are too big. They look like scuffed Klingons. Yeah, I don't like it.
As a Kunari mage during most of my preview, and will say I got used to the look pretty quickly. Dragon Age the Veilguard actually only marks the second game of the series where you can play as a Kunari. So the odd imbalance of forehead versus face feels like stylistic growing pains. I remain curious about whether more time with the character creator.
Can you make her boobs bigger?
I remain
body proportions. Go to
curious
that.
About whether more time with the character creator might help. The air shock of Dragon Age 2 is, in my opinion, such a beautifully crafted model. And I would love to be able to create a Kunari Rook.
Yeah, I guess
I'm sorry, but this just looks so much cooler. I think this looks way cooler.
Feels as memorable. Customization certainly doesn't stop at hair or horns, of course. Every aspect of your Rook is editable, even allowing for facial asymmetry if you choose. Sliders allow you to change everything from head shape to the melanin in your skin to the presence of vitiligo.
Bro, why she got Tetris on her face?
Tetris? What? Oh, it's a vertigo.
Like...
not vertigo, it's a
yeah, what the fuck?
Go. Perhaps
every time I hear that word, I can only think Uncle Ruckus with revitiligo. I'm gonna be honest. I cannot hear that word without thinking of the Boondocks. I got revitiligo. Good one. Yeah, it was so good.
My favorite addition, however, is the introduction of body diversity. Cyberpunk 2077 and Baldur's Gate 3 had whiffs of this, but nowhere near what you're capable of in the Veilguard, which is much more similar to the breadth of the character creator in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah, it was really good. You should be able to make fat characters.
Each of the 4 races, there are plenty of presets to choose from, all with varying heights and...
Okay, so... Okay, so you can make their boobs bigger.
Oh, I can rise
see, it even has her. That's the ass slider.
That looks
the
so
dick
nice.
No, I like that. You're having a dick slider. A lot of people don't have that.
Or fat distribution.
Jack-o'-lantern
Once you've
look
chosen
nice,
your preset, however, you
But I
can
still
build
like the
further
cat
upon those
more.
elements as much as you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
First is a triangulation of coordinates, allowing for many unique combinations of
Yeah,
body
it's muscular, skinny, and fat, and you figure out where you are in the little triangle. I get it.
types that are thinner,
Okay, let me
larger,
see.
or more muscular.
Yeah.
Height sliders are fun, especially when it means
Pumpkin
watching
relic
my
and
particularly
morning-
short elf ruin years of Solus's ritual planning by pushing over a statue.
Misfortune. Wait, cool down.
She's not even that short.
That's a weapon, man.
The options
Long
feel
tree kind,
almost endless. There's even a glute slider. And yes, I gave my rogue
No, it could have been way bigger than that. Yeah,
I
it
mean,
should be
true.
way that should be, guys, that should be 20%. That's it? That's like nothing, bro. Like, oh my god. At least it's I guess. Well, what about, are they gonna show the dick slider? Let's see what we got with that.
one hell of an ass. All
No.
of this is only
Yeah,
scratching.
right.
Hell,
Like,
I'm
apparently
off.
this girl doesn't spend 4 hours like I do on Instagram every day. No, it's not.
The surface. I haven't even gotten into facial
That's
hair,
it.
makeup, scars, or tattoos.
Yeah.
As an elf, my rook sported some Vaseline, but there are so many different designs for both the face and the body to experiment with.
Take you
While I
to
didn't spend very much time
Katabashi,
exploring
the
customization for the
upgraded-
Inquisitor, I just
fuck.
know we'll all get the chance to make them in the way we've always imagined.
Dragon summon.
It's
Yeah,
good
I'm
to see you
building a
again.
melee build, so I cannot
The,
using any
the people making this should do the
any
same thing that
essence
Dragon's
for
Dogma 2
normal
did,
damage besides,
where
you know,
they introduced the character creator before the
melee.
game came out. That was a really good thing that Dragon's Dogma 2 did, and it was really smart.
think
And I
An's-
think they should do the
is it
same
in
thing.
melee? So is there a lot of
So
magic?
it may be a relief to some of you to know that Veilguard abandons the awful green lighting of Inquisition's character creator and instead
You can change it?
allows you
Yeah.
to cycle through several lighting options in
What the
service
fuck
of
is this
creating
guy look
rooks
like?
that look
What-
just
what
What
is-
is this guy? Who is
Does it look like
this guy?
Spasm Squidward?
Look
What
at
the
his face. What is this? This is like an Amish goat god.
Look like handsome Squidward. Hello, sweaty.
to cycle through several lighting options in service of creating rooks that look just
She
as
made
good
this?
in gameplay
Yeah.
as they do
Good for
when
her.
you create them.
Hello.
Combat, meanwhile, was a refreshing change from Inquisition. My go-to class has always been Mage, and even as a Knight Enchanter, I often felt like I was standing in one place holding down the left trigger. This felt like a return to the pace of Dragon Age 2, with innovations that improve upon the experience of battle overall. The Veilguard
What is your camera? Like,
introduces a new fighting style for mages featuring
It
an
looks so
orb and
weird.
dagger for close quarters combat.
But it does
It's
look
tailor-made
like
for players like me who love magic,
the
but
fighting is not
also
that bad.
really like to
I have
stab.
give it.
yeah, like Red Mage, sure.
During my preview, I played through the prologue and then dropped forward into
It's actually
very
crazy. Like, I remember playing Red Mage in Final Fantasy XIV, and it was crazy to me how well designed it was. I actually think it's probably one of the best designed classes in a game that I've ever played. It was so good.
various points of
I
Act
like
1.
Lawless.
So I really got to quickly experience the progression Rook and their companions can go through as fighters. We may not be able to take control of our companions this time around, but the Veilguard really encourages strategizing with them. They'll call out to you when they've rebuilt their mana or stamina, and
ladder
the ability
arisen.
wheel even suggests combos. My focus during the event was mission-driven, so I didn't get as much of a chance to interact with the characters as I would have liked, but even the brief moments of banter endeared me to them pretty quickly.
It didn't break. You call that nice and quiet?
Each class gets its own ultimate ability, think the focus ability, along with a ranged attack.
Man, I really gotta say, I really think this combat really just doesn't. I don't think it meets the mark. I really don't think so. I don't know. I mean, like, it looks very dated. This game does look like it came out in 2016. Did you expect it to? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I expect every game to have very good combat. I think if you have a game that has action
How did you
combat and the
switch to
action
melee?
combat is bad, then you have a bad game. It's that simple. Yeah. That's the way it works.
Fears that means yeeting your shield like a giant metal boomerang. I've always played Dragon Age for story and not combat, but with this new system, I had so much fun. I felt present during every encounter and truly accomplished after every boss battle. That said, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve. I still found myself confusing controls a few hours in.
Okay, it's kind of hot.
I do that for probably the first 43 hours of playing a game, so she shouldn't feel bad about that.
Departure from all 3 installments, but luckily the Veilguard offers 5 different difficulty levels that you can change at will if you want to ease yourself in.
I really hope that the highest, I'll probably play the game on the high difficulty level, right, because of ego. But I really hope that video games can get into making high difficulty not be bullet sponge. Because I feel like that's what happens with a lot of these games, where like they want to make the game harder. So the way they make it harder is that they double the health and they double the damage.
Weapon doesn't look that good.
As a Dragon Age fan, the Veilguard felt like a homecoming of sorts. Just as much as seeing familiar faces in
like
Solus and
yeah,
Barret, I was overjoyed to be back in the world of Thedas itself. Moving us north allows for that sense of discovery I got in Inquisition.
That looks good.
And if I'd encourage anything, it's to really look
it's like
at
the
your
only
surroundings.
frame that looks good.
Not only are there small environmental puzzles to entangle, along with small and effective moments of visual storytelling, but the horizon...
I'm sorry, but Honkai Star Rail has more congruent and coherent puzzles than that, if that's the best they've got.
Is full of breathtaking scenery that drives home the scale of these locations I've personally always wondered about. One new locale, for instance, is a gorgeous underwater prison called the Ossuary. I won't spoil what you're there to do, but the design alone makes it one of the most memorable moments I've had in any Dragon Age game. Even after hours of gameplay, I still felt like I could have played for many hours more. I'm optimistic about the Veilguard, and excited for it in a way I haven't quite felt about another game in quite some time.
I don't understand how people can look at that combat and be like, this is what I'm excited for. I can't understand it. I look at it and I really think the combat is extremely lackluster and mediocre. I also think that the narrative will be... Well, let me finish the video. It's almost over.
To see even more of the game, check out our exclusive IGN First coverage, which features even more gameplay and deep dives on Rook's companions. And for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.
Thanks.
I think that there's going to be a number of things in this game. Like, I actually think the narrative and the story in this game is going to be like it is going to be a masterclass in how to write a soft, modern story. And I think it's going to be garbage. I really do. And the reason why I think it's going to be garbage is because I don't think that the writers of this game and the people that are making this game view it as a fantasy game. I think they view it as basically a way for them to this is like a heightened reality of what currently exists. And I have like kind of 2 points of like reference here is that let me see if I can find it. The individual person's skin color is referred to as melanin. Now, like, they do have pronouns in the game, which is like I don't really think that's like that big of a deal, right? I think it's annoying, right? But like, sure. but like you have like melanin on the character. And I think that oftentimes what ends up happening is that people, what they do, there's 3 options. Yeah, he, him, and they. That's clearly what the options are going to be, right? Like, I mean, you could easily say that. Like, that's clearly what it's going to be. And so, U.S. culture. Well, and then you also have, you can even have, and this is what I think is really lazy about it, is I talked about this earlier, but since we were on the video, I'll show it again. Is that in the Veilguard, you can actually show, you can have an indicator here where you can have top surgery scars in order to emulate what your scars would look like if you had trans surgery. I think this is one of the most lazy and devoid of any degree of creativity examples of why you should expect this story in the game to be soft, modern, flat, and garbage, and completely uncreative. So we live in a world of magic, demons, dragons, and shape-shifting. However, you still need to undergo a, surgery in order to change your gender. What a ridiculous thing to say. It doesn't even make sense. So when I see something like that, and then I see the character's skin tone be referred to as melanin, I see an image of a game that is made to reinforce a real-world view and be a hyper-reality rather than a fantasy world. I find it to be very weird. And I don't think that you should expect to see a story that's written by a studio like that have any sort of depth to it, have any degree of edge, any sort of internal truth. I think that you can expect to see an extremely flat and extremely dull and a very soft modern story that takes no risks and only reinforces what the artists and the writers that are making it want you to believe about the real world. That's the way I feel. It feels condescending. It is. And so that's my opinion. And I understand that people might not think this, but I want everybody to clip what I'm saying here, and let's take it to the bank whenever the game comes out, and we'll see if I'm right or not. You're criticizing Stone Asman? These woke game devs are lost in their own bubble. You should be 1,000% for it. Yeah, for sure. They're excited because it aligns with their values. Why would any player, including trans, want that? In a game, you can magically directly choose to be the other sex and gender. Who wants to be ugly in an idealized fantasy? Yeah, I don't think that anybody, this is, like, I can't speak for any trans people, but, like, I can speak for a lot of people that I know that have scars that, I don't think that hardly anybody, unless, you want to look like a badass or something, right? Anybody wants to have their scars. So I think that, like, yeah, like, if you could just not have that, I'm pretty sure almost everybody that's had surgery would just turn it off. Yeah, I am my scars. Yeah, true, except for Illidan. Yeah, everybody except for Illidan. But Illidan's not real, though. You've got to keep in mind. And also, the ass slider was painfully conservative. Was painfully conservative. Crazy conservative. That's the ass. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking... This is a joke. Come on, bro. Like,
I think
what
your fire
is this?
Did your damage.
This is crazy. Come on. That's a 100? No, it's not. I can go on that. Look, where do we have? Where's the ASMR section?
Uh-oh. I may get
Yeah, just like you just search. Like, this isn't an unrealistic female expectation. There's plenty of girls that look like that. Yeah, if you want, I can give you a short list of 100 of them. Or 1,000 if you want. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. The chest is already at max? Yeah, I guess so. That's nuts, man. Find cosplay channels. Bro, go to your local McDonald's, you'll see massive asses. Yeah, I think so, right? And I hate that a lot of people defend it. The bigger ass is not real. I have plenty of female friends that have way too big asses. Well, I think that really, I think that it's very common, and it's like one of the, it's like a, you know how you have like toxic masculinity? I think that there's toxic femininity as well, where women like to body shame other women based off of their proportions because their proportions are seen as, you know, like too over-endowed. I think it's very common. And like, I see this happen with a lot of girls.
But if I play a fantasy game, I'm not gonna make the child
and it
look like
happens with skinny girls too.
Dude,
It's like, oh,
why do
where's
I
her
want to
organs?
make
Like,
a
what do you mean,
fantasy
where's her
child
organs?
look
They're
like
working,
myself?
unlike yours that have to work overtime. Like, it's nuts. It's too seductive. Yeah, exactly. How big is 100% for the bulge, though? And that's the thing, right? Like, how big can you make their dick? That's what I want to know. Yeah, women are mean as hell to each other. Yeah, they are. They're like anything mean that you can say to a girl is nothing like the things that a girl can say to another girl. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like I've seen some of these like leaked group chats. Oh my god, holy fuck. Yeah, that's brutal, man. Yeah, why can't I dislike the video? I mean, I don't think you should dislike the video. I feel like the video was good, right? It's not like there was anything bad about the video. But I'm just saying that I don't really think this character creator, and I think that the decisions that they made with the character creator are a mining canary for what you should be able to, and the hip width, that's 60%. There's no way it is. This is outrageous. He plays a left-handed person. 10% of people are playing left-handed. I don't know. That's actually a good question.
And that's true.
Yeah, I have no idea. Game mods incoming. Well, it is a PC game, so we'll see what happens.
Definitely,
that's insane. They're slapping the face of women.
Some character,
well, I
like
think that a lot of times it's just, you know, well, let me actually read some comments first. Inquisitor, the glute slider didn't add a thing. Yeah, exactly, bro. Fucking exactly. God damn. The fact they had Inquisitor back. Yeah, a lot of people are pretty positive about this. Just add some texture to their foreheads. Why is it so damn smooth? It looks ridiculous. Yeah, it does. It really does look ridiculous. What the fuck is that Canary at the 5-minute mark? It looks like Quagmire with horns. Yeah, it fucking does.
Quagmire with horns.
But anyway, yeah, I think you should expect like this game to be a
masterclass in soft modern.
Is that what you guys see? Quagmire?
I see Squidward.
Yeah, there's a video right there. Give it a like. I mean, they do their best, right? The sliders are not made for men and women, just to be clear. Well, then you're making a mistake because there's men and women out there, and if you don't make a version of the character that looks like one of them, people will have a harder time identifying with the characters. It's that simple. I find it to be very odd that we've removed male and female, something that 99% of people identify as, in order to add body type 1 and 2 in a way that nobody identifies as.
Yes, that's it.
How is it inclusive to remove language that 99% of people use?
Man, nothing's scary.
Well, I think that there's a disparity, though. I think that's I think that there's a little bit of a problem. So, yeah, because they say so. Yeah, it's outrageous, and I think that more people should be outspoken about stuff like this. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Appeasing the LGBT? No, guys, can you please, like, you don't like. There are plenty of guys and girls that are gay that don't have anything to fucking do with this. There are tons of people that are gay that also think this stuff is stupid. This is a subset of people that are often not even part of like this underrepresented group that are trying to put themselves out there and virtue signal like they care about them. It's just like what I said with the Assassin's Creed team for Shadows. It's a bunch of white people that are trying to add a black person in Japan because of diversity. And then they get all the details wrong because they don't have any respect for the culture. It's so annoying. They're woke assholes. Yeah, they're like the Karens of the internet. It's still the LGBT agenda? No, it is a small subset. Most people that are LGBT agenda are like, don't prosecute us, let us be able to get married, and let us live our lives in an equal way. That's what most normal people that are part of LGBT think. That is like the 80 to 90% of them. Like, yeah, this is not, like, again, I think the majority of this is done by people that are trying to do it in the name of other people. That was 20 years ago. Yeah. Just got here, it's happening. I don't know, they want more rights. I mean, I think they should have any right that a normal person should have, right? Right to get married, anything else, of course. Yeah, it's not even a question. They just want to be treated normal, and these developers stereotype them. Yeah, because they don't know any gay or trans people. So they design things, or black people, right, with Assassin's Creed. So, like, what do you do when you don't know any black people in real life? Well, whenever you have a
Afterward.
samurai fight, you put on hip-hop music.
After mana drop. Oh.
Because you
Before
don't know,
mage build.
like, what the
They
fuck?
think
It's
change
crazy
all
because,
damn
like, even, like, recently, you know, there's, like, that one song. Like, I listen to the radio a lot.
Leave it there.
Like, there's, like, this, like,
Survive
one
faith.
song that's, like, a country
But I mean,
song.
for
It's
6
actually really
seconds, you
good.
hit HPE not
And
heal
it's, like, a
Pokemon,
black guy
you
that's
will
singing a
die.
country
Oh,
song.
shit.
And it's, like, super, super popular. And, so it's just, like, the bar song. Yeah, there you go. Is it Shibuzi? Yeah. He's
This is
great,
way better
man.
because I had.
I think he's great.
Mana
Straight up.
thingy. Basically,
Yeah,
you
Old Town
gain
Road. Yeah, I guess there's
defense
another
based
one
on
too.
your
Yeah,
mana.
with Little
City
Nas.
actually
Yeah, but
quite
it was
good
the
for
new
if you're
one.
building a mage
Yeah, I think
build,
it's a
so
great
you can
fucking
stack
song.
defense a little bit.
And I don't know. Like I
They
just
should
wish
really
that
allow
you'd,
that defense,
I
so
wish
they can-
people were able to treat each other like people rather than you know, representations of a group.
Okay, I got essence of some melee essence. The blade blood. Dude, I just watched something beside, yeah. Play game. This is so bad. My ADHD is so bad. Let's see something. Ooh. Or something weird. Like Power World getting sued? What?
Nintendo and lawsuits go together like cereal and milk. They are no stranger to dishing out lawsuits. They would sue an 8-year-old if they found out that their grandmother made them a Mario nightlight. They've been this way for years, so it's no surprise that they're suing Palworld. I'm actually surprised it took them this long. For a while,
Yeah,
I
I know,
thought it
dude.
maybe wasn't
I'm
going
just-
to happen because Palworld, when it came out, everyone compared it to Pokemon. I called it Pokemon with guns, everyone called it Pokemon with guns, and it was one of the biggest games to launch of the year. Well, one of the biggest games to launch in general on Steam. So it's not like a game that flew under the radar. Nintendo would have been alerted to it. Well, that is assuming they use the internet, which is a far-fetched notion. They only just recently learned what email was like 5 years ago, so
Yeah, I know
who
how-
really knows?
SNF
They're probably
five.
still working
I
off
got a lot
dial-up
of
over there because
experience.
that company is so fucking archaic and out of touch. But there is a very slim chance that they weren't aware of Palworld,
Yeah, I got
and they
it.
vaguely talked about
don't
it.
know if
They
I've
did
done
make
it
some
as-
posts back when Palworld was popping off that
Oh,
they
I
will
had
do
one.
anything they can to protect their copyright. And they also announced that they were going to be investigating, but a lot of time passed, tumbleweeds started to blow through, there was cobwebs on the story, nothing came from it, so I started to assume that maybe they didn't find anything that they had any real legal ground to pursue Palworld over.
I heard
But
it.
it turns out that was wrong. Instead, they spent all this time charging their alt. So now Nintendo and the Pokemon Company have jointly filed against the company behind Palworld, Pocket Pair. Also, I'll just go ahead and say what everyone's thinking. Pocket Pair, I mean, that's kinda on the nose. Like, there are things here like that seem extremely close to Pokemon. But anyway, we'll talk about the actual patent infringement lawsuit in a moment. I want to talk about Palworld itself. I and many others really liked Palworld because for the first time in at least a decade, it felt fresh. Nintendo's just let Pokemon get super stale and recycled, and somehow they can't even just hit copy and paste correctly half the time. Like the newest one, Scarlet and Violet, was a fucking mess. That game looks worse than some of the Pokemon games that came before it. It's when you continuously like download a JPEG and you know it ends up looking like some kind of fucking cursed images straight from one of the circles of hell. That's kind of what Pokemon's become. Like, it is just the same game regurgitated endlessly, and even when they do try and do a few new things like with Legends of Arceus, it's half-baked, so they don't even fully realize some new concepts they might want to try. It's just, most people, like me clearly, have really lost their faith in Nintendo to deliver a good Pokemon game.
I need a
Enter
fairy dust
Palworld.
again.
They take the Pokemon formula and they make it feel fun and exciting. And yes, of course, to the hall monitors out there, you'd be lying to yourself if you said that the pals were totally unique looking. There are some pals in the game that look
like,
almost identical to Pokemon counterparts. It looks like they just changed a few colors. But you're not going to hear me whining about that, not going to order any french fries there and shed tears over them having similar designs from their pals to Pokemon, because Pokemon doesn't fucking use them for anything worthwhile. So, I don't really care. I'm not going to be upset on behalf of a billion-dollar company for it, but I did think this was going to be the strongest case Nintendo had against Palworld, because the designs are almost identical in some situations. But it doesn't seem like that's what they're going for. So, the patent infringement lawsuit. That means that they believe Palworld infringes on a patent they hold. So, not like designs or anything. Instead, they are seeking an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages, which indicates the lawsuit is civil. And according to an attorney, the fact that it's a patent infringement suit and not a copyright claim means the case isn't about copies of Pokemon themselves, but rather some aspects of the game design that Nintendo and the Pokemon Company protect as a new invention patented. That really raised a few eyebrows.
So that means
like
you cannot
I said,
catching
the main
any,
thing people point out is how similar the designs of some pals are to Pokemon. So you would think that they'd go after them for a copyright infringement. Like, hey, you've taken our characters and you've made one-to-one knockoffs. You've made bootleg Pokemon over here. But they're not. They're not trying to make the argument, hey, you took a Rayquaza from us and turned it into a Rayquazar in Palworld. They're going after them for patents, meaning like technical inventions that they own the rights to. So in when it comes to games, sometimes things that are patented are mechanics. So the most notable one that I see referenced a lot, and it's one that I think about from time to time, is the Nemesis system from the oh my god, my nose is really getting congested here. Is the Nemesis system from like Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War. That's an incredible system, and there's a reason you've never seen it used since. It's because Warner Bros. Has that patent and they just shove it up their ass and just sit on it. They don't use it, and no one else can use it because it's patented. There was also a really notable one. You know mini-games that used to be in the loading screen of games a long time ago? Well, that was patented as well, so there was a reason why you no longer had mini-games loading for such a long time. It was patented. Now, conceptual and visual similarities aside, Palworld and Pokemon play wildly different. Palworld is a survival game with an emphasis on exploration, building, and combat. Like, you use fucking guns. Like, it is wildly different from a Pokemon game from a gameplay perspective and what you're actually doing. So, it's weird to target that. However, it seems, and this is the best guess that people have, that Nintendo has a patent on video game character throwing an item to catch a monster while out in a field. So, the Japanese application specifically refers to Pokemon Legends Arceus, which allows players to throw Pokeballs in the overworld rather than limit catching to wild battles. It also includes what looks to be a version of the game's Pokedex pages, which track information like how many times the player has encountered the Pokemon in question or has seen it use a specific move. Palworld does contain catching mechanics similar to Pokemon Legends Arceus, so this may be one of the patents included in the lawsuit. Additionally, developer Pirate Software speculates that the lawsuit relates to Palworld's Pal Spheres, which are similar to Pokeballs, and Nintendo filed a patent for this in Japan back in 2021 and got it approved in 2023. I think the speculation is probably correct here. Those are like the two main gameplay mechanics that Palworld has that Pokemon also has. I can't really...
So mind you, if Nintendo wins the lawsuit, any game that had monster capturing cannot using a small device that has circle. That's basically a circle small device to throw at the monster for you to capture them anymore. Yep.
I think of any others off the top of my head that are patented, at least. So I think that's probably where they're heading with this lawsuit. And I know a lot of people have talked about this, but I want to echo it. Patenting gameplay mechanics fucking sucks. It stifles creativity because a mechanic can work as a foundation that others can build upon and create something beautiful out of. That's like the very definition of how some art blossoms. It starts somewhere and it evolves through others doing similar things but growing it in different ways. So if you patent something and forbid anyone else from touching it, it really sucks for every person that's not the company with the patent. I'm going to use the Nemesis example again. The Nemesis system could have been a staple in gaming, but instead it is now only in 2 games. Granted, both games are bangers, but if we could have seen that explored in other titles, that could have been one of the best new mechanics of the modern age. I love the Nemesis system. That had so much potential, and now it just festers. It sucks. Nobody wins there, except for Warner Bros, I guess, because they have a gold mine that they refuse to tap into. So, when it comes to gameplay mechanics being patented, I'm not extremely happy about that, but that's the legal ground that they're going to stand on and attack Pow World for, and I guess we'll see how it plays out. Pow World has responded. To sum up their statement, they're saying that they're going to be going through all the legal proceedings and investigations, and they don't know what specific patents they're accused of infringing upon because they have not been notified. They then go on to explain that they're a smaller indie game company based in Tokyo, and they just want to create fun games that bring people joy. They then say it's unfortunate we'll be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to the lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. So it doesn't sound like they know exactly what they're being targeted for with the patent infringements yet. I'm assuming that'll come later down the legal proceedings since this is still very early into it. And I guess we'll see how it plays out. I imagine Nintendo probably wouldn't, well, Nintendo and the Pokemon Company probably wouldn't pick this legal battle if they weren't confident they could win. These are billion-dollar companies going after Pow World now. That's gonna be tough. Or maybe it won't be. Maybe they have a trick up their sleeve to prove they didn't infringe on any copyright. Who knows? I guess we'll see. Anyway, though, that's about it. So, yeah.
Kind of why. I'm more surprised they didn't. Most of my Nintendo doesn't sue. The Power for copyrights instead of copyrights. They go for patent. So patent is basically like the game mechanic. The game mechanic basically. The one thing that I see Power have similar to game Pokemon mechanic is a power ball, a power spear, where you can throw the spear at the enemy and as a power and just thunder. Yeah. Which is kind of scary. Because if Nintendo wins it lawsuit, you cannot capture any fucking creature with a small circle divide anymore. So basically that. What is it?
Somebody took I took Kaisi to that's right. Okay, let me remember. So what happened was she wanted to go out shopping and I was gonna get a chair, and so we went to the Domain, which is like, that's the place where people that have money in Austin go to buy things, right? Like they have a Gucci store, like a Louis Vuitton store, etc., right? And yeah, the chair stream, right? Yeah, that was the chair stream. It was, let me see if I can pull it up. This one here, right? Yeah, it was this one right here. And anyway, it was
not bad, but it's definitely not my.
It was a decent day, and I remember we got steak and not steak and shake. What was it fucking called? Shake Shack. Yeah. Anyway, so somebody posts a picture of this, and I saw this, and it says 122,000 likes, and then I reply with "she broke up with me." She texted me this morning. She's like, "I haven't been on Twitter for 6 days." And the first thing I fucking do when I log on is I see there's like 1,000 people tagging me about this. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, what is this? Well, what? Yeah, exactly. Because you took her to talk about on the first date. He thinks he's being funny. He's actually... So, okay, let me take a step back. Donut, when I originally said that I think you have to take a woman to Taco Bell on the first date, that way if she thinks she's too good for Taco Bell, you can filter her out real quick. Donut said you should take her to Whataburger. He commented that somewhere in the comments, because I remember seeing it because I was tagged in it, right? I took her to Whataburger the first time that she was here. That was the first place I took her to. I did do that, and she's gone. I like to do free runs. So, no, Donut doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. Don't fucking take him to Whataburger. Yeah, I should have taken her to Taco Bell. That's what it was. Yeah, there you go. She's gone anyway, exactly. Yeah, it should have been Taco Bell. It wouldn't have happened. And so... He sabotaged you? Yes, exactly. Do you still wear your watch? The watch that she bought me? Oh god. It's still in my bathroom. Check her reply. Because you ain't ever brought me to Taco Bell, you cheater. You wanna know what's really funny about this? Is that I had to take her everywhere because she can't drive. She bought a new car. She bought a new Mercedes. She told me about this. Actually, no, I asked her about it. She buys a new car. I said, "Are you gonna learn how to drive?" No. She goes, "No."
He bought a new car, obviously that can know how to drive. He's gonna drive.
Smart. I guess so. Yeah. I don't know how this really happened, but this guy, like, you know, he tweets about me all the time. Like this guy, I don't know how this, like, why? Actually, I do know why. It's the 21st, right? And so rent is usually due at the end. It's usually the end of the month, right? So he's got 9 days left to make some money. Makes sense, right? He's gonna have to talk about, because he wants to get something that's gonna get a lot of likes. Obviously, he's gonna talk about me. I'm incredibly interesting. Everybody's thinking about me. Everybody's talking about me naturally. And so, you know, he's just trying to get paid. Anyway, he gave her a lot of views. She probably won. Oh, it was great content for me too. Like they had a number of the videos that I did with that went crazy. People were so fucking people were watching the fuck out of that. So yeah. And she was like, did you look at the retweets of this post? So this post has received, let me see, because I can't see it right now because it's on what do you call it? It's on desktop. Let me see if I can find it here. So how many quote retweets does this have? It officially has 1.9 thousand quote retweets and 12 million views just on this one post.
12 million views?
I literally started crying over this. 141,000. Please God help my people. Free.
Free.
Oh my god, free her! Oh my god! Jesus, the next one, look at this! Normie's classic, I know. The funny thing is that, oh my god. So, you know what else she did?
Okay, I think that should be enough.
She's telling me that she was like, yeah, I like to, you know, I like to order milkshakes and eat them, you know, like late at night. And so it was like 2 in the morning. She was over at the house. And so I order her, I'm like, do you want a milkshake? She says, yeah. And so I ordered us DoorDash milkshakes. I said, do you want a medium or like a large? She said, I want a large. Guess how many sips she takes out of that milkshake?
3.
3.
Hell yeah.
Yep. 3. It's crazy, huh? Yep, there we go. Is it a bad milkshake? No, it wasn't. No, it absolutely wasn't. I ate my whole one and it made me sick. Yep, there you go. And so, you remember? Well, yeah, of course, I remember everything. But, let's read some more of these. And so, like, I'm getting pulled up and everybody's talking about
look
this.
at the damage.
Sounds annoying. No, she was very nice. She was actually very, very nice. And, whenever we went out, I basically made her pay for everything to the extent that, at the end, I actually felt bad. Because I was like, okay, you've paid for basically everything while you've been here. Like, I'm gonna, like, I have to, like, buy you ice cream or, like, I'm gonna pay for everything from like, now on, right? Because it was just so many times. I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, I felt really bad about making the one pay. Well, it's not even, like, I didn't really do it on purpose. I just wasn't really paying attention. So, yeah. And, is this something I should care about? No. This is peak Twitter drama. 12 million views on that shit.
Wait, what?
I love that people actually think that. I know. Yeah, it's actually insane. You really got the Asian community upset, bro?
Is the Asian community upset? What?
I don't know. I'm just living my life. Listen, I wake up in the morning and I don't even do this on purpose.
Easy.
I'm just
actually
I'm living
really
my
easy.
life. I'm just happy, and that's it. Oh, bro, we don't care? Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, by the Asian community, you mean 5 terminally online retards that can't stop posting on Twitter. Yeah, for sure. No, definitely fucking true. But yeah, it was really fucking funny. Do you still speak to her? Yeah, I was talking to her this morning because she texted me about this. And yeah, I couldn't even believe this. Because I was like, I wonder if it's... Because I didn't know if she's going to get mad if I said something, right? Because it might create drama, right? But like, no, she thought it was fucking funny. This is, I'm sure this is somebody else's personal 9/11. The fact that I had a girlfriend at some point, right?
Monster and Psycho Knight. So I just seeing checking the what video I said what. It's not even content. It's just ADHD, and I can't even play it without something. I can. I don't know. Like some of the video are nice. I like the videos that like the bullshit video. It's just there. Who's hunting eBay photo? Yes, I got
You might be surprised to find out that eBay isn't just for used video games and bootleg sneakers. Does that say SPIV 350? You can also find all kinds of mysterious items. Like this Cheeto that looks like a golden retriever. Or this Cheeto that looks like Vanilla Ice.
What?
Or this Cheeto that looks like Bolden Brash, aka belongs in the trash. Alright, the weird side of eBay isn't quite what it used to be. So let's take a trip back to the year 2000, back when the weird side of eBay had a bit more of a mysterious aura, and then allegedly a haunted painting took the internet by storm. This is the story of the Hands Resist Him.
What the hell? Huh?
This episode is sponsored by
Crunchyroll.
As you probably know, Crunchyroll is an online streaming service with tons of different anime series. And the first thing I'm going to do, actually, you might be surprised to find out that I've never seen a single episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but they have them all. And I'm gonna get caught up on that and things like Attack on Titan Season 3, the new Fruits Basket series, My Hero Academia, and pretty much all the anime I say I'm gonna watch that I just never got around to watching yet until now. And you can watch Crunchyroll on basically any platform you can think of, your computer, your phone, your game console, your smart TV. Just go to crunchyroll.com/wank to start your 14-day free trial of Crunchyroll Premium. The early days of eBay were primarily characterized by just how ridiculous some of the weird items on the site were, especially when you got to the more supernatural things. There were all sorts of supposedly magical or haunted knickknacks up for sale alongside depreciating Beanie Babies. At that point, it was almost entirely what the site was known for. For example, I vividly recall the owner of one website, I think it was xentertainment.com, had dug up a jar of dirt from his backyard and sold it on eBay as a magic kit for $20. But on February 2nd of the year 2000, a listing posted by an eBayer named Mr. No Reserve was taken a bit more seriously. It was of a creepy painting that depicted an angry-looking child standing next to an eyeless doll. Behind them was a door with several hands reaching out from a black void. The listing read as follows. When we received this painting, we thought it was really good art. A picker had found it abandoned behind an old brewery. At the time, we wondered a little why a seemingly perfectly fine painting would be discarded like that. Today, we don't. One morning, our 4.5-year-old daughter claimed that the children in the picture were fighting and coming into the room during the night. Now, I don't believe in UFOs or Elvis being alive, but my husband was alarmed. To my amusement, he set up a motion-triggered camera for the nights. After 3 nights, there were pictures. The last 2 pictures shown are from that stakeout. After seeing the boy seemingly exiting the painting under threat, we decided the painting has to go. Please judge for yourself. And these are the pictures of the characters allegedly fighting and the boy leaving the painting. To me, it just seems like they made the side of the picture a little bit red, but I have no idea how such effect could be achieved. They finished the listing off with a warning. Warning. Do not bid on this painting if you are susceptible to stress-related disease, faint of heart, or unfamiliar with supernatural events. By bidding on this painting, you agree to release the owners of all liability in relation to the sale or any events happening after the sale that might be contributed to this painting. This painting may or may not possess supernatural powers that could impact or change your life. However, by bidding, you agree to exclusively bid on the value of the artwork, with disregard to the last 2 photos featured in this auction, and hold the owners harmless in regard to them and their impact, expressed or implied. Now that we got this out of the way, one question to you eBayers. We want our house to be blessed after the painting is gone. Does anybody know who's qualified to do that? Clearly, these people were in a big rush to get this haunted painting out of their home. Although, I guess not that much of a rush considering the $199 starting price, but you know, a bit of a rush. Almost immediately after it was posted, the listing spread all over the internet, mostly due to the fact that so many people found it to be completely ridiculous, but there were some people who were taking it seriously. There were some people who responded as though they could feel the haunting through the internet. There were those who claimed they could feel unease just by looking at it, and some people even said that the picture made them sick. The listing began to receive several thousand views, and it received a number of questions which were answered in the following update that week. The size of the painting is 24 by 36 inches, so it is rather large. As I have had several questions, here are the following answers. There was no odor left behind in the room. There were no voices or the smell of gunpowder. No food prints or strange fluids on the wall. To deter questions in this direction, there are no ghosts in this world. No supernatural powers. This is just a painting. And most of these things have an explanation. In this case, probably a fluke light effect. I encourage you to bid on the artwork and consider the last 2 photographs as pure entertainment. And please do not take them into consideration when bidding. As we think it is a good idea to bless any house, we still welcome input into that procedure. So at this point, it's pretty clear that the seller really didn't expect it to go that far and had gotten a bit out of hand. They were obviously backing away from the haunting narrative and even went so far as to debunk their own stakeout. And the line about considering it pure entertainment is the go-to cover-your-ass statement when selling haunted things on eBay even to this day. Because the thing is, on eBay, you could get banned for selling intangible items like, you know, ghosts or souls or things like that. As the auction drew to a close, the seller posted one final update. The auction is nearing the end. I want to thank the more than 13,000 people that took the time to look at this image on eBay. I appreciate the more than 30 suggestions that I received regarding blessing the house, exercising, and cleansing. 7 emails reported strange or irregular events taking place when viewing this image, and I will relate 2 suggestions made by the senders. First, not to use this image as the background on the screen, and second, not to display this image around juveniles or children. Last, not least, thanks for appreciating the art as well. And on February 12th, 10 days after the auction began, it had accumulated 30 bids. And it sold. The price of, are you ready for this? $1,025.
How do you know?
It was purchased by a user named Ionia7. Shortly after receiving the painting, Ionia7 was interviewed by a website called surfingtheapocalypse.com. Most of this interview revolved around why they would buy such a painting and if anything happened after they received it. What attracted you to the haunted painting? Were you interested in the piece more for its artistic value or for the legend that went with it? Visually, it seemed like a good composition. The artist displayed a certain professional handling of the medium, and the subject matter was compelling. The legend
I think I
seemed
can
like a
guess
good
where the
marketing
sword is.
but I was buying it to sell. How long have you had the painting? Since March 7th. Has anything unusual happened with the painting? If so, describe. I wish I could report a bizarre happening or mind possession type of thing, but the unusual things started happening with the first email and counting. Prayers and quotes from the scriptures from a man of faith, advice as to how to cleanse my residence of this evil thing from a Native American shaman in Mississippi, reports of people being repulsed, made physically ill, or suffering from a blackout/mind control experiences. I've been informed that over 34,000 people on eBay alone have viewed this item. People want to know how can I live with this sort of thing, or want to buy a life-size reproduction. If anything, this is the real story. I had never received an email before that wasn't from some online porn site, and the only apparent reason I get these is because I fit the profile. Perhaps most importantly though, it was through this interview that the internet learned the name of the painting and some more information about its origins. Have you been able to find out anything about the history of the painting? I was hoping from the detail image on eBay of the boy's face that, given the crazing of the pigment, the painting would date from the 1920s or 30s. That generally would make an economic difference.
It actually
probably was completed in 1965 to 75. It is titled The Hand's Resistance.
Upon my holy blade, the very world lies in balance.
Incredible show drawing there. Let's skip at. Oh no. Oh shit. Second phase. Oh fuck. Oh fuck, second phase. I didn't know Terraria would have second phase. Oh shit. Yeah, sorry, I paused the video because I kinda need to focus a little bit. What is going on? I don't know. I'm trying to... Uh-oh. I'm still survive, I guess. That's what happens when you play tank. Or not tank, like more like melee champ. Like melee terraria, like just so tanky, just play tank everything. Look at this. Even though you did no damage. Because you think it's just really tanky and I don't deal damage to it. Oh, he teleport. Oh. Okay, he have health now. Ow. Oh shit. Run. Dude, this thing's so tanky. Like, it was at 390, 95k, 95,000 health. This thing like almost 400k. Is it also a master mode too? So it arms the health even more. Like, what is the base health you think? The bonus king, yeah. Who's the king now? I'm just fight tanking your soul. Ooh, look at that dodge. Ow, it still hit me. Oh shit, I need to get out there. Yeah, the red circle. You have to get out of the red circle, but you can stay inside yellow circle. But you have to stay at orange circle. Oh, oh. Feel me. Dude, I kind of want his soul. I gotta want his weapon. It's like, it look like a katana, but it looks like really big version of katana. I never liked katana in the first place. I like big heavy sword. This body the push over. It's way easier than the other modded previous mod fights. Is it mod? Yeah. Dead. Who's the ruler now? Who's the bonus king? Ah, me. Bitch. What did you give me? Ocean Leg Hunter, Ocean Hunter set. What does the Ocean Hunter look like? It look bad. Summoning Astro Breath. Summon Astro Breath. Yup. Set wolf. That pest. They are. Oh, now. Octopus of City is a bonus king hit blade, a crab hole, not to mention some magic, as it possesses. He would try on you to survive all that. Let's stop it. The power essence. Melee blade go in mine. Liberating radiation. Melee. Yes. I've been waiting too long to craft this weapon. Then with it axe to liberation. There's so many. Oh, I need God. What the hell? Rest Mother Dog Idol. And revelation. There's so many good. What is it weapon about? Ooh, look nice. Okay. Dealing damage and attack stack revelation. A certain threshold will manage potion of crimson armor. Gain 5 defense per armor. Managing 6 stack. Oh, so this basically gives you like armor. You even build more armor that you can tank here because of this. I don't see any stack of red. What the? Wait, actually got the armor. Look my character. God damn, that's actually quite nice. Okay, I need a little sword right because other boss using it for some reason. Okay, let's chase us. What the? Slow speed. Critical strike gain stack of radiant. Radiant unleash, consuming all radiant, gain 1 second of radiant deal critical damage with lodged and gaining radiant path can stack program ice on skin for 4 seconds. So basically, they just like massive sword that just stack fence. Oh, I still like it anymore. But it's not even that big. Look at it. It look big, but it's I think way better. Yeah, this we're gonna look way better. I'm gonna testing. Oh. Okay. Radiant. They're like a paladin soul. But never mind, it's actually a paladin soul. Who would have guessed? $10,000. What the fuck? Actually, that's actually a lot. Quite big knockback on that. See that? Like, look. I actually like this so more. This swing like around, you know. Like every third attack, it do like a full swing around, and it basically has it. Oh, where is it? Where's the mob at? I want to test it. It also gains you a lot of defense. So look, 159 defense. Yeah, look at it. Oh. Boom. It actually did a lot of damage. What the hell? Yeah, look at this, it's so good. You know what? I'm gonna use it, so we're gonna. Yeah, like that one spin did so much damage. It's amazing. This one did not matter, but it not my thing. Okay, I'm gonna put it here, put this thing here because I don't need it. I'm gonna keep it here. Hold on. Where is that? I should put it. God damn it! I need to. God damn. Is it whole brush, right? Something called whole. Yeah. Because whole brush has something I need. I got this thing lifesteal and psi enhancement. Thank you. Now I can upgrade this thing. 16, 36. Oh, psi enhancement, boss slave. Is the lifesteal 1% lifesteal? Routing to 0 for low damage weapon. I still got 8 left, so I can grab something cool. All for one. You basically deal more damage to all the enemy. They 1 for all to deal damage for only one enemy, but you deal a lot more. You got Ghost Slayer, so you deal more damage. Is there like a normal ones that are not utilities that gives you time? But here I think Psi Harmon is considered utility, but you can only put it in the utility slot. Yeah, let's test out. Attack speed, critical strike, incident speed, and the Psi one. I'm blind. Okay, damn. Whoa. It's look the same. 15 inside, 15 side. It's does look bigger, right? It does. But I cannot drive anymore. God damn. I think because yeah. God, I had no man. Had no enhancement because I could level up the thing. But yeah, this actually really goddamn good. 158 damage. I have to reroll some of them. But if I can get legendary, so. Unpleasant is not bad. Eat trash. Unpleasant is trash. Legendary, please. My visit weapon cannot be legendary here. If not, I can you idiot. God damn it. Fine, I said I would call problem. I will call later. Okay, let's focus.
It is signed, but I'm not releasing that information yet. A good example of surrealism from that period. Just call me a lucky bidder on eBay. The painter was later revealed to be an artist named Bill Stoneham. Bill Stoneham hadn't thought much about that painting until the year 2000 when Ionia 7 contacted him to find out more. Once he learned about his work's sudden internet fame, he took to the internet to share more information about the painting. According to Bill, it was painted in 1972 and inspired by a poem that his wife wrote, also entitled The Hands Resist Him. He is of the seeing visions. His strokes reveal them. In a rush of color, of madness, of mystics. And his head is the highest center. It must confront its enemy. The hands resist him, like the secret of his birth. His presence is the sanctum heartbeat, felt in darkness and in passion. Its sound, the sole gift to that silence. Bill said that the boy in the painting was based off a picture of him as a child. The hands reaching out from behind the door were intended to represent the alternate lives lived while dreaming. And the eyeless doll was intended to be the boy's guide through the various dream worlds. A very different narrative from the one presented by the original eBay listing. But that's not to say that the painting wasn't without its own set of mysterious circumstances. Both the owner of the gallery where Hands was displayed and the Los Angeles Times art critic who reviewed my show were dead within a year of the show. I'm sure it was coincidence, but some of what I paint resonates in other people, opening the inner door. The first purchaser of the painting was a character actor named John Marley, who you might remember as the guy from the horse head scene in The Godfather. And while he's often mentioned as one of the deaths associated with this painting, it should be noted that he didn't die until 1984, over a decade after the painting was purchased, and most likely after it had already left his possession. And as it turned out, the lucky eBay bidder Ionia7 turned out to be the owner of Perception Gallery in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Kim Smith. Although he had originally bought the painting to sell at a higher price, he'd received a number of offers over the years and turned them all down, even some as high as 6 figures. Considering that he had only spent about $1,000 on it, that would have been a massive profit, so I guess at the end he just couldn't bring himself to part with it. To this day, it is still in storage at his gallery, only occasionally being displayed for special events, such as one that he held on Halloween of 2013 that was covered by Juxtaposed magazine. And people's interest in the painting still continues. According to Bill Stoneham, he still receives several emails about it every single week. He's even been commissioned to create several sequels to the painting. A piece in 2004 entitled Resistance at the Threshold, in which the boy is now grown up into an old man and the doll began to transform. A piece in 2012 entitled Threshold of Revelation, which depicts the doll fully transformed into a real girl. And a prequel in 2017 entitled The Hands Invent Him, which shows us the view from behind the door in the original painting. In an interview with the Daily Dot, Bill Stoneham was asked why he thinks that so many people are still interested in this old, allegedly haunted painting, to which he responded, "We live in an age of science, of revelation and hard realities and hard facts, but we are still drawn to the mysterious," Stoneham said. And what is more mysterious than paintings? More than any other object, paintings are a one-of-a-kind thing created by someone using their hands. And for now, that's the story of the Hands Resist. If you like this video, you'll probably also like my video on another internet art mystery, the Chinese guy who ate a baby. What? Good night.
Probably not. I'm not gonna watch the video. That's so weird. Let me see. Is the other video to chill or not? Discussing Discord criminal. Yeah, actually, nothing much. I need to do ETA to get sitting. Oh man. Oh, never mind, you got 10 medal, right? But I think I'm going to do the intern for the goal.
The advancement of technology over the last couple of decades has brought along an immense amount of benefits, but at the same time, it has also opened up doors and opportunities for despicable activities. One of the many platforms that is frequently used to carry out such activities is Discord. According to his family and peers, 19-year-old Tyler Chase Compton was a seemingly ordinary teenager on the surface. Not much is known about the specifics of his upbringing, but he lived a normal/unextraordinary life in Massachusetts. benefits. In contrast to this, Tyler's actions on Discord were a stark deviation to any typical adolescent behavior. Like many at this age, Tyler liked to play video games and talk to people online in his free time. Except the things he talked about were highly illegal and unethical. Discord has sophisticated AI algorithms in place to monitor content that is being shared on its platform. It's far from perfect, but nevertheless, it plays a significant positive role. One day in late 2021, these automated systems flagged suspicious activity coming from Tyler Compton's account. This then led to a human individual to review Tyler's engagements, and they were disgusted to say the least. In his private messages, it was discovered that Tyler was talking about and sending explicit material involving minors. This included both photos and videos. Discord's Trust and Safety team dug deeper to confirm the illegality of the flagged content, and after confirming that this was illegal material being shared, they reported it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, aka the NCMEC. Then, the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office was informed about Tyler Compton's actions, who obtained a search warrant for Tyler's residency in December of 2021. Additionally, this discovery about Tyler led to information on quote-unquote underground marketplaces, where minors are engaging in the sale of their own explicit material. They seized numerous electronic devices belonging to Tyler, including 2 computers, 4 smartphones, random disks, and a bunch of external hard drives. Officials also found several torn pieces of paper with email addresses and passwords scrawled onto them. These devices were sent off to forensic officials who extracted the digital evidence. And in this process, they found a massive collection of illegal pornography. On September 14th, 2022, deputies publicly stated that the explicit content Tyler had displayed individuals aged 2 to 10 years old. At this point, it was also realized that Tyler had intentions of distributing this content himself in order to make money. Or rather, he was already distributing the content, but he intended on growing this in the near future. With the overwhelming evidence gathered during the investigation, law enforcement officials arrested Tyler Compton. He was charged with multiple counts of possession and distribution of child pornography. After his arrest, Tyler was brought before a judge for an initial court appearance. During this appearance, the formal charges were read and he was informed of his rights. The court also addressed bail considerations. Given the severity of the charges and the risk of further illegal activity, it was being considered whether Tyler should even receive bail. But it was decided that he would be kept in Escambia County Jail with a $50,000 bail. Ultimately, Tyler was found guilty, but I couldn't find exact details on what his sentence was, just that it was quote-unquote lengthy.
Oh, dude, if he able to walk free, everyone is that close to be fucking charged.
This next entry takes us over to a small town in Iowa with a population of under 10,000, named Perry. In this town lived a 17-year-old named Dylan Butler, who was also born and raised there. His father, Jack, served as the director of the city's airport and had previously been the public works director for many years. His mother, Erin, owned a small business and was an active member of the city development board. Both parents were well known and respected in the community. Despite the family's solid standing in the community, Dylan's childhood faced several challenges. From an early age, he was subjected to relentless bullying. Classmates noted that Butler was often targeted because of his quiet demeanor and interests, which differed from most of his peers. This bullying began in elementary school and continued throughout the remainder of his schooling, profoundly impacting his mental and emotional well-being. As a student at Perry High School, Dylan continued to experience harassment, which has now intensified greatly compared to his earlier years. His classmates shared that other students would often physically attack and verbally abuse him. Unfortunately, this bullying also extended to his younger sister, which just made Dylan feel all the more powerless. But with many victims of bullying, there comes a point where that sense of powerlessness forks off into anger. Dylan often took to different social media platforms, including Discord and Reddit, to share his dark and violent interests. These interests were not exactly shared by his classmates, which just indirectly encouraged Dylan to remain quiet and introverted. Dylan was not simply interested in violence, but instead fascinated by it. Online, Dylan would frequent communities that spoke about and sometimes even encouraged serial killers and mass shootings. There were several students at Perry High School who were aware of Dylan's online posts. However, they mostly just chalked it up to Dylan being an edgy teenager. Although there is no public record of him receiving formal mental health treatment, it is clear that he was struggling with severe emotional distress. His online activities and communications suggest that he was dealing with feelings of anger, depression, and hopelessness. To further highlight his inner turmoil, officials later discovered that Dylan seemed to have been battling with his own identity. He frequently visited communities such as the trans and femboy subreddits, sharing that the only reason he didn't transition yet is because he, quote, doesn't want to be ugly. On Discord, Dylan was known by his handle, Took Too Much. One of the communities that he spent the most time in was the School Massacres discussion server, and as you can probably tell from the server name, this group of people discussed violent firearm-related content. In November 2023, the Discord server was reported to the FBI by a concerned user. The FBI reached out to gather more information, but no substantial action was taken. Fast forward to January 4th, 2024, Dylan's struggles culminated in a tragic event. That day, Perry High School was bustling with activity as students returned from their winter break. The day began like any other school day, with students and staff arriving early to prepare for the first day of the new semester. Breakfast was being served in the cafeteria, and students were hanging out amongst each other. A nervous Dylan was also mixed up in this crowd of students. Despite his recent troubling behavior and ominous Discord posts, his actions did not initially raise immediate red flags. According to reports, Dylan entered the school carrying a duffel bag. Inside this bag was a pump-action shotgun as well as a small-caliber handgun. Dylan had planned to take the lives of not only his bullies but innocent bystanders as well. In the time leading up to the event, Dylan was active on Discord, communicating with others in the SMD chat room. Here, a slew of anxious messages revealed a premeditated scheme. At approximately 7 a.m., Butler sent a message saying, "I'm at the school, it's about to go down, nervous as f***, but I have to do this." This message was followed by another one shortly after, indicating that he was assembling his weapons in the bathroom. "I'm in the bathroom getting ready. An N-word is in here. I need him to leave so I can assemble my guns." At approximately 7:37 a.m., Dylan emerged from the bathroom fully armed and ready to carry out his plan. He headed towards the cafeteria where students were grouping up. The first victim was an 11-year-old boy. His name was Amir Jolliffe. He was in the cafeteria when Dylan opened fire. Amir was struck by multiple gunshots and died almost instantly. As the shots rang out, chaos erupted as students and teachers realized what was happening. Dylan continued his attack, looking for anyone who was out in the open. One witness used the word pandemonium to describe the school at the time. Students scrambled to find cover or escape the building. The school's principal, Dan Marburger, acted swiftly, trying to protect students. He confronted Dylan and attempted to de-escalate the situation, but was shot multiple times. Despite his critical injuries, Marburger's intervention bought a small window of time, which allowed several students to escape or hide. The school's panic button was pressed immediately, alerting local law enforcement to the situation. Within 7 minutes, police officers from Perry and surrounding areas arrived at the scene. Officers conducted a systematic sweep of the building, securing areas and evacuating students and staff. As the police moved through the school, they encountered Dylan, who had retreated to a hallway. In a final act, Dylan turned his weapon on himself, ending his life. His body was found near the weapons he had used, along with an IED, which was later rendered safe by bomb disposal experts. And just in case you were wondering why an 11-year-old was in the same school as a 17-year-old like Dylan, apparently this school campus connected not only Perry High School, but a middle school as well. During the incident, Dylan continued to post messages on Discord, updating the chat room members about his actions. One of his last messages read, "It's happening, I'm doing it. I can hear the sirens already. I won't be taken alive." In the immediate aftermath, emergency medical teams treated the injured and transported them to local hospitals. 7 people were injured, including 4 students and 3 staff members. Principal Marburger was among the most critically injured and was taken to Mercy One Hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. Interviews with students, teachers, and staff members revealed the extent of Dylan's isolation and the bullying he had endured. Despite these revelations, many questions remained unanswered, particularly regarding how Dylan had obtained the weapons used in the attack. Young Amir was the only death that day besides Dylan himself. Dylan's parents released a statement expressing their sorrow and confusion over their son's actions. They emphasized that they had no prior knowledge of his plans and were struggling to come to terms with the horrific events.
It's kind of hard to determine if the person actually.
Our final entry for today is about a man named Arnold Castillo. He was once a developer known for his work on Roblox and became infamous for his criminal activities involving the grooming and exploitation of a minor. Arnold, also known by his aliases Jacob Shedletsky and Dr. Rofatnik, began his journey in the online gaming world at a young age. He was deeply involved in the Roblox community and developed several games which gained a large following. One of his most notable creations was a game on Roblox called Sonic Eclipse Online. This Sonic the Hedgehog-inspired game attracted a large audience, particularly young players, which inadvertently provided Castillo with access to a vulnerable demographic. If you are not aware, Roblox allows users to create and share games, and it has become extremely popular among children and teenagers. As Arnold created more and more games, which were played by thousands if not millions of users, his prominence in the community grew, and with it his influence over younger players. This influence was not limited to his in-game activities, but extended to various social media and communication platforms where he interacted with his audience. As I just shared, Arnold used the alias Jacob Shedletsky. This last name is very important here as it highlights an angle of deception that Arnold intentionally pursued. A former creative director at Roblox was actually a man sharing the same last name, John Shedletsky. Sharing the same last name suggested that Arnold shared a familial connection to John, and therefore had an air of authoritativeness or credibility within the Roblox community. Arnold began his despicable actions by identifying vulnerable individuals within the gaming community, often young girls who were enthusiastic about gaming and game development. He initiated contact through in-game messaging systems, gradually moving them to more private platforms like Discord and Instagram. One of his primary strategies was to offer professional guidance and mentorship. By presenting himself as someone with industry connections and knowledge, he gained the trust of his victims. He often promised them opportunities in game development, which created a false image of a potential career that was hard to resist for young and naive developers. Additionally, Arnold used financial incentives to further entice his victims. He sent his community members gifts through online retailers and money through platforms like Cash App and PayPal. These gifts ranged from small tokens of appreciation, such as purchasing their artwork, to expensive equipment like drawing tablets and high-end computers. These gestures were designed to make the victims feel valued and indebted to him, further isolating them from their support systems. Arnold gradually introduced explicit conversations into his interactions with fans. The comments seemingly started out innocently, but quickly escalated over time. Eventually, his victims were desensitized to the content and viewed Arnold's inappropriate advancements as a normal occurrence. Fast forward to January 2022, Arnold made contact with a 15-year-old girl from Indiana through Roblox. Arnold questioned her about her interests and discovered that she had aspirations of becoming a game developer. After learning this, Arnold offered his own professional advice and complimented the work that she had done in the past. As Arnold continued to build rapport, he moved their conversations to Discord and Instagram in February. Here, Arnold sent the girl money through Cash App so that she could pursue some of her art projects. He even sent her several drawing tablets valued at well over a couple $1,000s. Throughout the month of March, the girl showed Arnold the project she was working on with the equipment he sent her. Arnold praised the girl and said that she had a very rare talent that shouldn't be wasted. Once he had established that he was a kind and generous man within the mind of the 15-year-old girl, Arnold began isolating her. He started by saying things like how he cared about her more than her IRL friends and family. When the girl said that her family loved her, Arnold would apply pressure by saying that they didn't care to the same extent as him. They weren't the ones spending thousands of dollars on her so that she could pursue her dreams. Therefore, they didn't love her as much as him. By April, Arnold had completely won over the girl and convinced her that they were in a romantic relationship. The girl truly believed every single word that came out of Arnold's mouth. However, there was one major issue standing between them. Arnold told her that her parents would not understand and instead act as an obstacle when it comes to meeting up and being happy. That's when he proposed the idea of transporting her from Indiana to Paterson, New Jersey, which is where Arnold lived. He arranged for an Uber to pick her up. He paid the driver an upfront $500 with the promise of an extra $500 after they delivered the girl. When the girl's family realized she was missing, they immediately reported her disappearance to local law enforcement. The initial investigation focused on tracking her last known activities and communications. Investigators collected data from her social media accounts, communication platforms, and the online retailers from which she received gifts. This data revealed a pattern of communication with Arnold. Law enforcement agencies collaborated with Uber to trace the trip that Arnold had arranged. Uber provided crucial information about the journey, including the payment details and the route taken by the driver. This helped narrow down the girl's location to Paterson, New Jersey. Before the raid, law enforcement conducted surveillance on Arnold's residence to confirm the girl's presence and ensure her safety. After confirming that the girl was there, they set their plan into motion. On May 11th, 2022, FBI agents, along with local law enforcement officers, executed a raid on Arnold's home. They found the girl and rescued her from her confinement. Arnold was arrested on the spot. During the arrest, several unopened condoms were found in his possession, indicating his continued intent to abuse the girl. She was provided with both medical and psychological support immediately afterward. Ultimately, Arnold was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison on August 30th, 2023. Following his release, he's ordered to serve 20 years of probation and pay $10,000 in restitution to the victim.
Because the last fucking story should be like... I feel bad because this got not a bad thing, but the main thing is just so many fucking degenerate that goddamn... So yeah. It's such a push. Oh, sorry. Quite disturbing case. The more disturbing. Some of disturbed mystery. What I saw recently? Man. Yeah, I want to kill Bestie for its weapon, its soul, most likely, but so I need to farm a lot. At least start off because it had average.
This first case focuses on a man named Mac Lavelle Proctor, whose remains were discovered in 1972 in Polk County, Florida. For over 50 years, the identity of this man was unknown after his remains were found at a gruesome crime scene. On May 17, 1972, a fisherman made a disturbing discovery near a canal in Eloise, Florida. There was this mass that he couldn't really distinguish at first, but as he got closer, he realized that it was a human body. The body he found was that of a middle-aged white male in an advanced state of decomposition. The exact location was just south of the canal and southeast of the US 17 overpass connecting Eloise to Winter Haven. The victim had been shot twice in the head with what was suspected as a small firearm. The man had no wallet or other items on him that could lead to his identity. Needless to say, this made the identification process extremely difficult. The clothing the man wore was also unbranded and there were no distinguishing marks on him either. Officials estimated that the man was in his 40s or 50s, but due to the level of decomposition, details such as the exact time of his death and his exact appearance were hard to determine. The man's remains were later buried in a pauper's grave at Lakeside Memorial Cemetery in Winter Haven, Florida. He was simply designated as John Doe. Back at the location where the man was discovered, officials were able to recover several .22 caliber casings. But aside from this evidence, authorities were forced to turn to the public in an attempt to gather more information. They released a description of the man, including his estimated age, height, and other characteristics. But as weeks and months went by, officials didn't receive any significant leads. However, 2 years after the body was found, police received an unexpected tip. In January 1974, an inmate at the Florida State Prison named Charles Williams requested to be put in contact with the Polk County Sheriff's Office. Authorities granted this, and Charles revealed that one of his fellow inmates claimed to have been responsible for killing a man matching the description of the unidentified man found in Eloise. This potential culprit was named Clarence Ingram. Charles elaborated and said that, according to Clarence, he and an accomplice named Edgar Todd met the victim in a bar in Winter Haven in 1972. It's unclear if the three knew each other and the meeting was planned, or if they simply had a chance encounter. But anyway, that night, the three got into a heated argument. At some point, all three of the men were traveling in the same car, and Edgar Todd shot the man with a .22 caliber pistol. After ensuring that the victim was deceased, the two removed all of his jewelry and other items before disposing of his remains in the canal. Furthermore, the vehicle the group was traveling in belonged to the victim. The two culprits knew that the canal had a lot of animals, including turtles. They were hoping that over time, the animals would have completely consumed the remains. According to Charles, Clarence took this car and sold it. Authorities determined that Charles's information seemed too detailed to be made up. So they then set out with the goal of verifying the details. One of the first steps was to cross-reference the details provided by Charles with missing persons reports from 1972. Detectives reached out to law enforcement agencies in neighboring jurisdictions and states, particularly Georgia, where the vehicle involved in the crime had a license plate registered. This led them to investigate the case of a man named Lewis House. House had gone missing after traveling to Florida in 1972, and this seemed to be a promising lead. He had left Georgia for Florida and was never seen again, fitting the timeline and circumstances described by Charles. Detectives contacted House's family and gathered as much information as possible, but despite their efforts, they could not definitively link House to the unidentified victim. As a result, the investigation into House's disappearance did not yield the breakthrough detectives had hoped for, and the case went cold again. Nevertheless, they still decided to look into Clarence and Edgar. Their criminal histories lent some credibility to Charles's claims. Both men had indeed been in the Winter Haven area at the time of the murder. Records showed that Clarence had received a traffic citation in Michigan shortly after the time the body was discovered, which matched the story that the victim's car had been sold in Michigan for $500. And being that this rabbit hole didn't seem to be leading to the identity of the Eloise victim, it was dropped. As the years passed, significant advancements in forensic science opened new options for investigating cold cases. In February 2017, the body of the unidentified victim, buried for nearly 45 years at this point, was exhumed from its grave in Lakeside Memorial Cemetery. Once the remains were exhumed, the DNA extraction process began. The victim's DNA was sent to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification. This facility had the necessary technology and expertise to handle such degraded samples and extract usable DNA. The extracted DNA was then analyzed to create a genetic profile of the victim. With the victim's genetic profile in hand, the next step was to search for potential matches in existing DNA databases. However, there were no results. This meant that the victim was not in the database, either as a known individual or connected to any other crime scenes. This was a significant setback, but not entirely unexpected, given the limitations of the database and the time that had elapsed since the murder. Fast forward another 6 years to November 2023, the case would see new life. A portion of the victim's femur was sent to a private laboratory named Othram Inc. Officials intended for Othram officials to use forensic genetic genealogy to find the man's identity. By April 2024, the research had produced promising leads. Othram's report indicated that the victim could possibly be Mac Lavelle Proctor, a white male born on November 28, 1914. This identification was based on matches found in the genealogy databases, which linked the victim's DNA to several distant relatives of Proctor. Detectives reached out to Wright Proctor, Mac's son, who was living in Georgia. Wright provided a DNA sample, which was compared to the genetic profile of the victim. The analysis confirmed that the remains were indeed those of Mac Lavelle Proctor. Born in 1914, Mac was a skilled mechanic. He was described as a man who often moved around and had a history of heavy drinking, which might explain why his disappearance wasn't immediately reported to authorities. The family last saw Mac between 1969 and 1972, and he was never formally reported missing, likely due to his itinerant lifestyle and sporadic contact with family members. As for who was responsible for killing Mac, authorities went back to Clarence and Edgar. The story from Charles only serves as circumstantial evidence, but officials are of the opinion that it's highly likely that these two men were Mac's killers. Clarence died in 1995 and Edgar died in 2015, so unfortunately, authorities weren't able to actually go back and confirm additional details. Back in the year 1981 in Texarkana, Arkansas, siblings Karen and Gordon Alexander were tragically murdered. For over 4 decades, investigators have been trying to figure out just who it was that was responsible, not knowing that their answer was closer than they ever suspected. On April 8, 1981, 14-year-old Karen and 13-year-old Gordon were found brutally attacked in their home, suffering fatal stab wounds. Despite extensive investigations and public interest, the case went unsolved. Karen Alexander was known to be kind and dedicated amongst her family and friends. But behind this cheerful mask, Karen was actually hiding a life riddled with sexual abuse. As for her brother Gordon, he was described in a similar light. Gordon was vibrant and showed an immense amount of care towards other people. This trait will become evident in just a little bit. The events unfolded in the early hours of the morning on April 8th. Karen and Gordon's father, Weldon Alexander, returned home after a long night shift at Cooper Tire and Rubber. Weldon exited his vehicle and dragged his feet to the front door, looking forward to getting some much-needed rest. It was about 7 a.m. at this point, and Weldon noticed that his front door had been left slightly open. This detail worried him, so he slowly peeled the door open to enter his house. Once inside, he tiptoed around, expecting a thief or someone of that nature to be inside. That's when he made his way into the kitchen. Right there on the floor was his son Gordon lying lifeless in a pool of blood. Weldon rushed to him, noticing what looked like stab wounds. He then called out for Karen and ran off to find her. Weldon later discovered Karen in the nearby living room. Karen was lying on a bed set up there, and she too was covered in wounds from a knife. However, unlike Gordon, Karen was still alive, but barely. Weldon called for emergency services, who transported her to a nearby hospital. Unfortunately, her wounds were far too severe, and she passed away just 3 days later. When investigators examined the crime scene, they were left with a complex and confusing scenario. The lack of forced entry suggested that the attacker was either known to the victims or had easy access to the house. This immediately raised suspicions and narrowed down potential suspects. One of the most crucial and peculiar details was the murder weapon. The siblings had been attacked with a butter knife. This was strange because it made the crime look like a spur-of-the-moment type event rather than a premeditated one. According to Weldon, the knife was still embedded in Karen's body when he found her. After he called medical officials, he then removed the knife and set it on a nearby bookshelf. Investigators explained this action as a panic response from the father, but it obviously raised concerns about contaminating evidence. Along with the butter knife, other evidence was recovered. This included fibers, blood samples, and other biological materials. Karen's autopsy later revealed some very disturbing details. She had been assaulted repeatedly in the months leading up to her murder, indicating a pattern of ongoing abuse. At the time of the attack, her brother Gordon was confined to a wheelchair due to a previous injury. This made him especially vulnerable and defenseless against the assault. The autopsy confirmed that Gordon had died almost instantly from the stab wounds he received. It is believed that Gordon was killed as he attempted to intervene and protect his sister during the attack. This act of bravery further highlighted the outstanding character of the boy and the bond he shared with his sister. Murdering a child, let alone one that was disabled in the fashion that Gordon was, outraged the local community. From the start, Weldon Alexander was a person of interest due to his proximity to the victims and his discovery of the crime scene. However, his cooperative demeanor and the lack of immediate evidence against him meant that investigators investigators had to tread carefully. They interrogated Weldon extensively, scrutinizing his alibi and actions on the night of the murders. Weldon maintained that he had been at work during the time of the murders and had returned home to find the horrific scene. One detail of particular interest to investigators was the fibers and traces of metal on the two kids. These materials were ones that could be found in Weldon's place of work, but at best this was circumstantial, and it was entirely possible that the material was transferred onto the kids after he returned home. In addition to Weldon, investigators looked into other potential suspects, including family friends, neighbors, and anyone who might have had access to the house. Each potential suspect was interrogated and alibis were verified, but no definitive leads emerged. If you've been watching these solved and unsolved videos of mine, you'll know now that a man named Henry Lee Lucas frequently pops up. Lucas is a notorious serial killer who is known for falsely confessing to crimes. So in the following years, Henry Lee Lucas also claimed to be responsible for Karen and Gordon's deaths. The confession to the Alexander murders initially seemed plausible, given his known modus operandi and the detailed descriptions he provided. Lucas claimed that he had entered the Alexander home, assaulted Karen, and killed both siblings. He also provided specific details about the case, which led some unaware investigators to assume that Lucas was actually there at the crime scene. However, he primarily obtained these bits of information from reading about the case from public sources, or learning about them through interrogations where he is suspected of being involved. Ultimately, it was determined that Lucas was lying yet again. The case of Karen and Gordon Alexander remained cold for many years, but like with so many old cases, it saw a resurgence as technology evolved. In February 2022, Captain Calvin Seward, who had been involved in the original investigation, took it upon himself to reopen the case. Seward's decision was influenced by the significant advancements in DNA technology and a renewed determination to bring justice to the Alexander siblings. Seward, alongside forensic criminologist Dr. Todd Steffi and DNA scientist Kelly Dixon, began re-examining the evidence using the latest forensic techniques. They reanalyzed the biological samples, fibers, and other materials collected from the crime scene, and they obtained groundbreaking information that would go on to solve the case. Underneath the fingernails of the siblings, officials were able to start building out a genetic profile. This profile was further established after examining the semen that was found on Karen's bedsheets. If you recall, I said that Karen was unfortunately a victim of frequent sexual abuse. I'm sure many of you suspected it by now, but the man assaulting her was her own father, Weldon. Investigators retraced the events back to the night before the actual murders. On the night of April 7th, 1981, events escalated to their peak. Investigators believe that on this night, Weldon attempted to rape Karen once more. This time, however, her brother Gordon intervened, trying to protect his sister from their father. Gordon's attempt likely enraged Weldon, leading to the violent exchange that resulted in the deaths of both children. The lack of forced entry at the crime scene further supported the theory that the attacker was someone from within the household. Weldon's presence in the home provided him with the opportunity to commit the murders without raising immediate suspicion. Weldon's behavior and actions immediately following the discovery of the bodies also came under intense scrutiny. His account to the police included several peculiar details that raised significant red flags in the light of new evidence. The main one is that he messed with the butter knife and placed it on a bookshelf. Furthermore, Weldon's overall demeanor during the initial stages of the investigation was described as calm and cooperative, which initially diverted suspicion. However, as investigators re-examined the case with new forensic insights, his composed behavior began to appear more as a calculated effort to deflect suspicion rather than the reaction of a grief-stricken father. I wish I could say that this murderer faced justice, but that's not the case here. Weldon Alexander died in 2014, long before the advancements in DNA technology could conclusively link him to the murders of his children. His death meant that he would never face trial or be held accountable in a court of law for his actions. If you're wondering about the children's mother, she actually committed suicide at the age of 37 in 1984. Her name was Vera.
So she knew? Is a mom knew?
This final case takes us to Alamance County, North Carolina in the summer of 1979. Tammy Sue Aldridge, an energetic 20-year-old student at East Carolina University, was pursuing a career in physical therapy, focusing on caring for the elderly. On June 30th, 1979, her life was cut short when she went for a jog and never returned. For over 40 years, the case remained unsolved. Tammy was born into a close-knit family in Alamance County, North Carolina. Growing up, she was known for her compassionate nature, dedication, and strong desire to make a positive impact on others' lives. At some point, Tammy felt that the senior population was overlooked and treated unfairly. This led to her decision to study physical therapy in college so she could play a direct role in their lives. In the summer of 1979, Tammy was home from college, spending time with her family and preparing for the next semester. Her daily routine included jogging near her home. On June 30th, 1979, what began as a routine jog turned into a nightmare that would forever change the lives of those who knew her. She had always been safety conscious, jogging during the day and in areas she considered safe. Jim Barnwell Road, a relatively quiet and rural area, was a place she felt comfortable and secure. This path was a typical choice of hers. When Tammy failed to return home at her usual time, her family immediately grew concerned. They knew her well enough to recognize that she was not the type to deviate from her plans without informing them. As hours passed with no word from Tammy, their worry escalated into panic. By the evening, her family reported her missing to the local authorities, which triggered a search operation. The community quickly rallied to assist in the search for Tammy. Friends, neighbors, and local volunteers joined law enforcement in scouring the area for any sign of her. The search extended into the night and continued into the following days, covering the paths she was known to jog and the surrounding areas. Despite the extensive efforts, there was no immediate sign of Tammy. In the days following her disappearance, Tammy's family received 2 distressing phone calls from her. The first call came on Sunday, July 1st, 1979. Tammy reassured her family that she was unharmed, but the tone of the call was unsettling. She sounded nervous and as if she was speaking under duress. Her family tried to ask her questions, but Tammy's responses were short and uninformative, adding to their growing fear. The second call came on Monday, July 2nd. This call was even more disturbing. Tammy once again reassured her family that she was okay, but her voice was clearly strained and it seemed evident that she was being coerced. Her family's attempts to get more information were futile. These phone calls, meant to reassure, only heightened their anxiety and fear for Tammy's safety. The family reported these calls to the authorities, who increased their search efforts. Law enforcement began to suspect that Tammy had been abducted and was being held against her will. The sense of urgency escalated and the search broadened to include potential hideouts and locations where she might be held captive. On the morning of July 3rd, 1979, 3 days after Tammy Sue Aldridge went missing, her body was discovered along Highway 54 in Alamance County. A passing motorist spotted what appeared to be a lifeless body on the side of the road and immediately alerted the authorities. When law enforcement arrived at the scene, they found Tammy's body in an unsettling state. Her ankles were bound with rope and there were visible signs of physical assault. Her clothing was disheveled, her shorts were on backward, and her shirt was inside out, suggesting that her clothes had been hastily redressed after her death. The body was still warm when it was discovered, indicating that she had been killed not long before being found. This detail suggested that Tammy had been held captive for several days before being murdered and left on the roadside. An autopsy was conducted to determine the exact cause of death and to gather more information about the circumstances leading to her murder. The autopsy confirmed that Tammy had been assaulted and strangled. The rope marks on her ankles and wrists indicated that she had been bound for an extended period, and the presence of rope burns on her neck suggested that she had been strangled with the same rope used to bind her. The brutal nature of Tammy's murder sent shockwaves through the local community. The murder of a young, promising college student in such a horrific manner shattered the community's sense of security and trust. Vigils were held in Tammy's honor, with community members gathering to mourn her loss and support her grieving family. Back at the crime scene, officials were able to recover not only physical evidence, but also biological samples. However, these samples weren't very useful at the time due to technological limitations. Law enforcement conducted numerous interviews with Tammy's family, friends, and anyone who might have seen her on the day she disappeared. They also interviewed residents in the area near Jim Barnwell Road and Highway 54, hoping to find witnesses who might have seen or heard something unusual. The interviews yielded little actionable information. No one had seen Tammy being abducted, and there were no immediate suspects. In 2002, Sheriff Terry Johnson took took over the Alamance County Sheriff's Office with a commitment to addressing several unresolved cold cases, including the murder of Tammy Sue Aldridge. Sheriff Johnson's team began by reviewing the entire case file, re-examining evidence, and re-interviewing people of interest. But again, the case didn't see much, if any, progress. In 2020, Detective Dan Denton, who had been assigned to the case, utilized modern forensic techniques to re-examine the DNA evidence. Denton was particularly interested in a DNA profile obtained from a feminine product found on Tammy's body. Analysis of this DNA ultimately led to a man named Gary Lane Laframboise. Gary was a man with a criminal history. This included charges of kidnapping and impersonating an officer shortly after Tammy's murder. Despite his criminal record, Gary had never been seriously considered a suspect in her case. He had moved to Alamance County from Florida in 1978 and lived just a few miles from where Tammy's body was found. He served time in prison from 1980 to 1982 for those kidnapping and impersonation charges. But just like with the previous case, the culprit was actually dead. In fact, he died in the same year where this major discovery was made. So officials had to test their genetic profile against those of his living relatives to confirm the match. And in the end, it was determined that Gary was indeed Tammy's killer.
So majority of the case got solved with the criminal doesn't face trial because they did. Such a bad slap. Yeah, I'm done building like good looking houses. There's too many NPC. I'm just gonna build trash house. Then just stay. That is, I don't. Unlock horror.
I've made a bunch of videos highlighting and explaining different analog horror videos and the entities within them. In a few of those videos, I pointed out several ones you definitely wouldn't survive against if you came across them, or if they came across you. So naturally, I thought we should take a look at some entities you could definitely beat, and you may or may not have ever heard of them. For how terrifying and powerful some of these are, they're not invincible and they have weaknesses. All of you who've commented, "Nah, I'd win," or anything along the lines of that on my previous videos, this is your time to shine. Or, you know, you could just let me know how you'd actually just straight up lose instead. At the end of the video, I'll rank all of these entities from least powerful to most, which is more or less a way to rank which one would be easier or harder to beat. If you end up enjoying my video, check out my second channel Soda Jump, where a friend and I get silly playing games and posting some IRL content linked in the description, and of course, I'll have all of the analog horror I talked about in this video linked there too. But before we start, this video is sponsored by because her new best friend told her to do so as a part of her birthday present given to her by him. And this is where things get sinister. The girl would be left alone in her house when her parents are out, and they would tell her to never open the door for anyone, but they never said not to peer into the wall of the family home. There's straight up just a dog in there, a humanoid dog.
What? What's that?
And
what?
then I met my new best friend. The end.
The humanoid dog seems to want to replace Bailey as the girl's new best friend as well. She even points out that someone has been tearing down Bailey's missing posters. Gee, who could that most likely be? It may have even done something to Bailey. So we've established what this thing is, and now it's time to beat it. Picture this, you live in this house with your partner and your daughter. What do? It doesn't seem like the dog has made its presence known to you or your partner either. So, unintentionally, you could prevent your daughter from interacting with it by patching up the giant hole in the wall of the house. How it got there is up in the air, but since your daughter hasn't made any serious claims of a new best friend existing, then I think it's likely that he could be found in the wall when patching it up by whoever fixes the wall, whether that be carpenters or you. If it's sealed in there and you don't know that it is, you'll eventually hear it bark for help or claw at the walls, and that's when you can call for authorities to rescue what you believe to be a normal dog. All of this is of course assuming that the humanoid dog has no other way out of the walls. But let's say you get into a confrontation with it. You come home earlier than usual and hear running coming from upstairs and see a shadowy figure launch itself into the wall. It's game over for the humanoid dog. One person watches the wall while you or your partner check on your daughter. Call the police and monitor that wall. If this monster tries to crawl out of it, injure it as much as you can by any means. This thing has been hanging around your daughter. It deserves no mercy. Even if you have no partner or daughter, and it's just you and the humanoid dog, for all we know and have seen, it's just got the body of a human and the head of a dog. There's nothing special about it that we know of other than its head and its creepy factor. It may be more animalistic in its fight with you, but it's not an impossible fight. It's definitely beatable, especially if you have something you can injure or kill it with from afar.
Dog, unless it had like superpower or something.
For the next entity, we're going to be taking a look at Dr. Nowhere's The Oddity Compendium Inst 1. We can see that this is the first in a possible series. This video is a great way to learn about the many wonderful and strange oddities that exist inside of, outside of, and around our universe. And we'll be taking a look at the flesh beds, aka mattress folk. These things are parasitic subhumans that effortlessly resemble a bedding mattress, your bedding mattress. They were first discovered in the 1960s, and some of their DNA belongs to humans, and it's theorized that they were once a branch of Homo sapiens and they merged with the mycelial network. How these flesh beds attack and kill their victims to sustain themselves is as follows. When their victim falls asleep on them, their body heat warms them up and wakes them from their dormant state. They slowly unfurl their bodies over time and then it attacks on a nice and warm night. You could definitely beat these things. They have one flaw that gives them away, and that's their warmth. If you go to bed and you feel that it's a bit warm, then you know that you're sleeping on a flesh bed. Turn off those electric blankets if you suspect anything too. So let's say you suspect that your mattress is a flesh bed. Now what? You wouldn't want to alert the flesh bed that you know of its presence just in case it's out of hibernation and ready to strike. So if you feel like taking it head on, prepare yourself since it can bite and scamper away. Block off all exits and bring a weapon like a chainsaw or something you can burn it with. However, it would still be in your bedroom, so you might just end up trashing the whole place, but at least the flesh bed would be dead, right? You could also alert the proper authorities and they could just deal with it for you. But to make things even easier for you, you could just deprive the creature of warmth. The start of the video suggests keeping a cold fan on while you sleep so it never comes out of hibernation. This will pretty much immobilize it so you can sleep on it. Which, I don't know why you'd want to, but any sort of source of cold temperature would do this. And you could do anything else you wanted to the flesh bed, like purging it or simply tossing it away. Simple. All you have to do is not give it warmth and you'll be fine. Let's now take a look at some entities from video game analog horror. I talked about some of these as well in my first analog horror entities you definitely wouldn't survive against video, and I think we should do it again. Video games always put challenges and obstacles in our ways in the form of creatures to defeat among other things, so they're ripe for analog horror. I covered Pokemon's analog horror earlier in 2024 with the homeboy Midnight Crick. A series we looked at as part of the video was the Ultra Beast Sightings analog horror. This was actually posted to the official Pokemon Go channel. Feibei on YouTube has taken these Ultra Beast sightings and taken them a step further into something darker. There's 3 new Ultra Beasts in this video that you've never seen before that get their own small spotlights and they're quite freaky. But I want to focus on one that we would all know, Nihilego, due to how it got a bit of a spotlight in Feibei's video. The Ultra Beast data given to us by the Aether Foundation states that Nihilego's special interest is consuming human flesh, and absorbing the body, which is loosely based on its Pokedex entries. When it feeds on people, it makes them act erratically too. It can fuse with the human body, creating a whole new anomaly as well. This refers to when a Nihilego merged with Lusamine in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So lock your doors and close your windows when these things are around. In my Pokemon Analog Horror video, I said that you'd be hopeless in stopping these interdimensional beings, but with some creativity, you could definitely beat these things. They're nothing like, say, a Guzzlord or anything that can use its size and physicality to intimidate and fight, so we just need to not fall for its tricks, and outsmart it when we need to. Since it'll be feeding on our flesh for sustenance, and will cause us to start acting erratically, we need to keep our distances from it at all times. That means not going around to investigate it when it's acting like a young girl, which its Pokedex entry says it does. This would merely be a way for it to lure you in with its innocent behavior. In a way, so would approaching it when it's feeding on someone. Since they'll be acting erratically, you may be injured and could become Nihiligo's next victim. So if you're at a distance, you can safely dispose of the Ultra Beast in any way you'd like. But say you do get into a close encounter with the Ultra Beast, you better hope you have something like a pole or another weapon with long reach or range, since if it can reach out to touch you, you're already in danger. Really, a long-range weapon that can shoot something would be super effective against them, but just for fun, I won't rule out having a Pokemon or Ultra Beast to fight with you like I did in my Pokemon Analog Horror video. It's a rock and poison type, so any Pokemon that's resistant to that or any moves that are super effective against those types should be good. And if you had a Beast Ball, then it should be an easy catch. Just don't underestimate the sheer numbers of them. Sticking to video games, we'll be looking at Splatoon for the next entity. If you've been following my deep dives into Analog Horror, you'll know that I first started talking about all of this stuff when covering Germ's Grizzcode tapes. In the Grizzcode tapes, an inkling by the name of Kaya Shirui goes missing on a salmon run shift, and it causes quite the stir. Rightfully so, this could all affect the Grizzco company's bottom line. There's a lot of conspiracy and hints here and there to something nefarious going on with the disappearance, but I don't want to go crazy spoiling things. Instead, I'll spoil Splatoon 3 because we need to know who Mr. Grizz is and if we are to beat him. Yes, that's right, Mr. Grizz is the Analog Horror entity here, at least the only one we can properly talk about in this series at the moment. He's the main antagonist of Splatoon 3 and could be interacted with in Splatoon 2 thanks to the Salmon Run game mode. So to be able to beat Mr. Grizz, we can go through two paths, a physical fight or legal action. In Splatoon 3's story mode, we finally got to see who this mysterious Mr. Grizz was, and we got to see that he was just a big, brown, sentient bear driven to turning everything on Earth into mammals. If you were a squid kid or just a regular human, you need to keep your distance from this thing at all costs. Getting too close to it to engage in combat puts you at such a high risk of death. Bears are physically stronger than a squid kid or even you. Just like with Nihilego, something with a long reach would do the trick. A very long reach since brown bears are huge, and Mr. Grizz is enormous for one. And again, a ranged weapon would be great here, like a splatter shot. Inklings have the ability to swim through their own ink, so you could use that to your advantage and then continue to shoot at Mr. Grizz and hide away when need be. But this is all assuming you can get near Mr. Grizz. Something tells me he'd have some kind of protection and underground ties. So let's take a look at taking legal action to beat him, because I'll tell you what, Kaya's parents definitely have a case against Mr. Grizz. So
this video just fucking turned me it's too bad. And I think I'm done today because I'm trying to find the blue ocean to basically spread the hollow biome in here. So I can fight the bosses fighting the Empress of Life, but not today. I will try it tomorrow then. And hope for the best. So, that's it for today. Yeah.